Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We do apologize for the late start. Would you please stand for the national anthem?
Our national anthem represents the beauty, pride, strength, and resilience of Jamaica and our people. My name is Agent Sasko. Please stand as we honor Jamaica, our culture, and our history.
You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you. Now, we have a plethora of persons who are joining us online for this international conference on Inclusive Insurance 2021 in Jamaica. We are in Jamaica, and we're not used to being in person at the moment, but we are virtual today across the world. So, if you are virtual and you are joining us via Zoom, you're joining us on our online platform, or you're in person, put your hands together for Jamaica for showing out today. I said put your hands together. Thank you very much. My name is Alicia White. I am the moderator this morning. I am also the Vice President of Group Marketing at Sagicor Group Jamaica. It's my pleasure to be here this morning. It is not my job to welcome you, however. Please welcome the President of the Insurance Association of Jamaica, Mr. Adrian Stokes.
Thank you, Danielle. Morning, everybody. Morning. So let me start off by thanking our two major sponsors, Sagicor and the Inter-America Development Bank, for graciously agreeing to ensuring that we can have this function here today. So thank you to the IADB and Sagicor. Let's give them a round of applause. Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clarke, special invited guests, persons listening to us online, members of the Insurance Association of Jamaica, a good morning to you all. The IAJ is very pleased to have this opportunity to participate in this very important and timely event, and to be able to bring the Jamaican perspective on the microinsurance industry to this forum. Insurance, as you know, remains an important component of any solid financial plan. It is common knowledge that when there is an unexpected financial misfortune, such as death of a breadwinner, damage to a major asset, such as a vehicle, it can have a significant impact on both the life and livelihood of an individual. With the increasing threats and severity of natural disasters, and especially in our region in the Caribbean, we are, I would say, disproportionately at times impacted by climate change. We are seeing an increasing number of persons facing additional risk for loss of both life and property. These risks affect persons regardless of their income level. And while we often see where those that fall within the middle and upper socioeconomic brackets are able to pick themselves up by drawing on other assets, friends, relatives, the banking system, many times persons with lower income, within the lower income group, and these persons are usually in the informal sector. They are not so lucky. And when these unfortunate events occur, they are pushed further into poverty. And this is a problem, and especially in our region. And therefore, we believe this is an area in which microinsurance becomes highly relevant, and we can clearly identify how it can play a role in the settling of outstanding debts, medical bills, or in the case of farming and other areas of production, replenishing of seed stock or crops. We also see where many families have been able to depend on microinsurance policies to conduct the burial of their beloved ones with dignity. And again, this is a very, very important objective. And while we commend the government for stepping up its allocation for disaster recovery in the budget, and also, importantly, for the catastrophe bond arrangements with multilateral agencies, such as the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility. And Minister, I must thank you for your leadership in that. That's a very, very important initiative that you have driven through. These are important, but we need more. These are high-level arrangements which sometimes don't always trickle down to the average man, certainly the low-income individuals. And therefore, we need to broaden the range of solutions that are available for persons in the lower income segment of our population. It is within this context, Minister and everyone, that we see where microinsurance can give persons an opportunity to provide a basic level of insurance and protection for themselves in times of economic loss. Over the years, we have seen where many churches and fraternal societies have had several burial schemes geared at providing for funeral expenses for their members. There has been a lot of innovation within our communities, right? People using various methods to pool risk and to provide their own solutions. And this has been going on in Jamaica for a long while. And I believe it's time, Minister, and all of us in the private sector, the insurance industry in particular, to build on some of these innovative solutions, ad hoc in many ways, but certainly we have a platform in terms of pooling of risk and to be able to provide workable solutions or more sustainable solutions to persons in the informal or lower economic grouping. So over the past 60 years, for example, through credit unions and their companion insurer, CUNA Mutual, there have been loan insurance arrangements instituted to ensure that any debt owed to their members die with the debtor. While these arrangements have no doubt been a step in the right direction, the time has come to move the ball forward in a more structured way, and so I'm very pleased that the Minister's presence here today serves as a tangible evidence of his support for microinsurance. And I think it also fits within the government's overall thrust of financial inclusion, broadening the economic base of the country. There are other important reforms that are crucial to the creation of an enabling environment for microinsurance. For example, less onerous know your customer requirements, KYC requirements, and a simpler, easy to read contract and regulations that facilitate the insurance of persons who are not in an employer-employee arrangement, such as occupational groups or commodity organizations. This would greatly assist with advancing the growth of microinsurance. Another area we also want to advocate for is the use of technology to expedite the purchase, sale, service, and ultimately the payment of insurance claims. This we see as being very important in giving credibility to the insurance policy in both the eyes of the policyholder and the public. Additionally, we see it as critically important in reducing the transaction costs, and by so doing will improve the benefits and the viability of this product group. Madam Chairperson, we trust that these matters will be adequately ventilated in today's deliberations. We also anticipate that by looking at some of the best practices implemented in other jurisdictions where microinsurance is on the rise, we will also be able to take away practical recommendations that we in Jamaica can benefit from. With all this said, I would like to recognize a couple of companies that have been innovating in the space, even without the accommodating environment. And I was just outside looking at the GK Insurance booth, and I want to recognize GK Insurance and Sagicor Insurance for doing good work in the microinsurance space, even without the enabling environment and policy framework, right? These companies have gone ahead and have been innovating in the space, and I want to recognize the good work that they have been doing. Minister, today we pledge to work with your ministry. We appreciate and understand that your policy thrust is to have greater economic growth and development in the country, and also something that I know I have heard you speak on in terms of resharing, insurance, and ultimately having an economy, right, that can share risk in a very efficient way. Because, as you know, and our farmers will tell you, right, whenever we have a major weather event, many of them face catastrophe. And I believe the microinsurance space and innovating in this space is critical to some of your objectives that I know you have for Jamaica in terms of faster growth and development. I also want to just recognize, before I close, Orville Johnson and the team at the IAJ for putting this event together. As I can see in the room here and the size of the room, they really take the social distancing very, very serious. And in all seriousness, Orville worked and the team pretty hard to ensure that we could get off to a good start. And from what I can see from the agenda, it's a very good day that lies ahead. So let me just again formally thank everybody for being here. Minister, appreciate your presence and for accepting our invitation to be here. And I want to wish us all a very productive day. I think it's going to be a great conference. So stay safe, everyone, and I hope that we have a productive conference. Thank you, everybody.
Edwards, radio broadcaster, and I'm here to share my story. A lot of Jamaicans, they look at insurance as something, as life after death. They think that when they have an insurance, they're not the one going to benefit from the policy. But insurance is for just the eventuality that you never planned for. If I can have something to safeguard any eventuality, especially death, and instead of running up and down, it makes sense to have this policy, because then many times, especially in Jamaica land we love, we realize that people, when you have a death in your family, you have to be waiting on family abroad to send you something through remittance services, or you have to be waiting to see how you're going to fund your funeral. So there is a policy for everybody, and at the end of the day, you can take care of all that you need to take care of. Let's bury our loved ones with some form of dignity, and one way to do that is to have insurance on hand. Can't say no one, get insurance here, get insurance.
For those Can you hear me? Good. Minister, thank you. I not often when I'm in a room with this man, I say, I, he works so hard, I want to take a vacation on his behalf. And so for you to take the time to be here with us this morning, we especially thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Stokes. And once again, I have to say thank you to Orville and the entire team at the IAJ for putting this portion of the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance together. We are just, this conference goes from October 25 to 29 it is, and today on that international platform, it's the Jamaican perspective, and you know that it's very good. It's very good, and it says something about who we are as a people, that of everyone, we would be included in this conference today to showcase what we are doing here in Jamaica. And you have your packages in front of you. You have it online as well to see. We will be talking about many things today and ventilating, according to Mr. Stokes. We'll be ventilating many topics. I want to make welcome, though, virtually, so you'll see him on the screen behind me, Mr. Dirk Reinhard. He's the Vice Chairman of the Munich Re Foundation, to bring greetings for us. Ah, there he is.
So a very warm good morning, Madam Chairperson, welcome distinguished guests on the panel, dear Honorable Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service of Jamaica, dear Dr. Adrian Stokes, dear members of the Board of Directors of the Insurance Association of Jamaica, dear participants from around the world. It is really a great pleasure for me to welcome you to the Jamaican Perspective part of the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance 2021. As most of you know, we tried this year for the second time to host the entire event, the entire International Conference on Inclusive Insurance in Jamaica, and we had to cancel again for the second time due to the ongoing pandemic. Now, as I have stated in the opening of the ICI 2021, the global economy is expected to grow again, while the pandemic is hopefully coming to an end soon. But it will be an uneven growth, since the recovery of many countries is constrained also by the lack of vaccinations, especially in low-income economies around the world. The World Bank's economists still expect an increase of 120 million new poor due to the pandemic. Now, 120 million new poor, this is a major setback in the fight against poverty and a clear sign that we need to work harder to build more resilient societies. In addition to the pandemic, extreme weather events such as storms, floods, droughts increase in frequency and intensity. And I do not need to tell you that hurricanes, especially here in the Caribbean, can destroy entire countries and push back the development of entire economies to where they were many years before. Understanding risks and what to do in case of a disaster strikes is a key element of disaster risk management. We need also tools that help to recover after a disaster such as insurance on different levels: microinsurance, macro, meso, local schemes, national schemes, multinational schemes. It doesn't matter what approach we use. What matters is to find the right combination of the different approaches to really develop a reliable, inclusive safety net for all. The insurance providers as well as the governments need to increase their efforts. We need more disaster risk finance and insurance solutions that create value for the most vulnerable. And a key part here, as one of the takeaways of the discussions over the past 2 days, is really to encourage the insurance companies to enter the market. You have a key role to play for sustainable economic development and hence in the fight against poverty. I believe that the roles of the different stakeholders have been described in details many times in the past. So I can only repeat what has been discussed in the past 2 days already: how important education is, how important market research is, digitization and efficient distribution center, as well as the right legal framework. We have to find more affordable and accessible solutions to protect against climate risk, and we need to address specific needs of different groups of clients, and this list is not complete. The legal framework for inclusive insurance or microinsurance in Jamaica will be discussed in the next sessions, and I'm very excited to see this happen. It's great to see that Jamaica is developing a special regulation for microinsurance. This was one of the reasons why we wanted to bring the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance to your country. At the same time, I strongly believe that also cooperation between several countries is extremely important. One example is the CREF, to develop solutions against large climate-related disasters in the region. But another challenge to develop insurance is making it affordable and sustainable, and to reduce costs, which requires a large number of clients. But some countries, especially here in the Caribbean, are so small that it is very unlikely to ever reach large numbers in one country alone. I strongly believe that the alignment of regulations of different countries in order to allow the distribution of the same product in different countries could support to increase outreach and make insurance more affordable. And I hope that the Honorable Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and Public Service, could help to facilitate such a process of discussions among different countries, how to make insurance more accessible across borders. I'm extremely pleased to have the Minister of Finance here with us today, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank the government of Jamaica for supporting inclusive insurance markets. And let me close by thanking the Insurance Association of Jamaica, especially Adrian Stokes and Orwell Johnson and the entire team behind it. Also many former and now active board members that I had met in the past years for making this conference today here possible. And also thank you to the Inter-American Development Bank and all the other sponsors for supporting this. I'm very grateful for our long-term cooperation and your patience, and I'm very happy that the ICII 2022 shall take place in Jamaica from 24 to 28 October 2022, if the situation allows us to travel again. Dear participants, dear speakers, dear facilitators, dear partners, thank you very much, and I wish all of us a very successful conference.
Healthcare for your child can be very expensive. The bills can easily add up, but with School Companion Health Plan, you can cover up to 80% of your child's healthcare cost for as little as $6,860 for the year. Sign up online or visit SagicoreSchoolCompanion.com for more information on Sagicor Life School Companion Health Plan.
So I have to, okay, there we go. I'm not sure where I'm amplifying from, but we will use both. So once again, for those of you who are just joining us online, I know that we had some technical issues earlier. You are viewing the Jamaican perspective on microinsurance, a part of ICII 2021. Just in case you are joining us and you are social media savvy and you'd like to tweet and Instagram and Facebook, take pictures and so on, we ask that you use the hashtag ICII 2021. And I hope you heard Dirk earlier, who said that we will be joined by many persons from overseas in 2022 for this conference. Today, it's the Jamaican takeover, so to speak. Once again, my name is Alicia White, and I'll be your master of ceremonies, moderator, host, whichever you please, for the rest of today. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark.
Good morning, everyone. Boy, you sound tired. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning at the International Conference for Inclusive Insurance. And it is a particular pleasure to be here in person, even though I know a number of the participants are online. This is only my second presentation in person in the last 18 months. And it feels good, actually, to be in a ballroom with other members of the Jamaican society. The good news is that, notwithstanding the challenges that we have had with vaccine hesitancy and other challenges with vaccine supply, economic recovery in Jamaica is underway. And it's underway in an unmistakable fashion. You're all in the financial sector, and I believe you'd have been pleased to see S&P, the leading international credit rating agency, upgrade the outlook on Jamaica. Still in the midst of the pandemic, still with a low vaccination rate, S&P upgraded our outlook from negatives to stable. And today, Jamaica has a credit rating, still in the middle of the pandemic, that is effectively unchanged from our pre-pandemic credit rating, which says a lot. You will all have heard by now that the economic expansion in the first quarter came in way above what anybody would have forecasted or thought or expected. And it came in at just over 14%, which of course does not recover all the lost output, but certainly makes the restoration of lost output, or the likelihood of that, it brings it forward substantially. And with a 14% growth in the first quarter, Jamaica is among the leaders in the Caribbean region as far as the strength and the pace and the momentum of our economic recovery. But the best part of Jamaica's economic recovery story, which is just getting going and no need to be over effusive in our celebrations just yet, but the best part of that story is that the jobs are returning. And the Statin labor market survey that came out last week showed that there were 93,400 more Jamaicans in a job in July 2021 as compared to July 2020. That is a big deal. We lost approximately 100,000 jobs over 4 years in the global financial crisis, and it took us 10 years to get those jobs back. We lost approximately 150,000 jobs in the pandemic over 4 months in 2020, and in 12 months we've gotten just under 100,000 of those back, which is surely a sign that the economic recovery is gathering pace, it is here, and that V-shape that has been so elusive in the past is likely to be our experience this time around. But we are not there yet, and there is reason for cautious optimism as we go forward. But the reason why I start with this in the context of today's conference is that the best part of the economic recovery that we're seeing so far is that it is inclusive. So it's not economic recovery that's simply showing up in the GDP numbers. And for those who don't want to believe the GDP numbers, all you have to look at is the government revenue numbers, and you'll see the huge increase in government revenues year over year. But it's not just showing up in those variables. The recovery is showing up where it matters most. And that is with people having an income in their pockets once again in exchange for the work that they put out. And it is this concept of inclusiveness that we want to continue to emphasize, and we want to characterize our economic recovery, not just in the short term, but across the medium term. We want an inclusive economic recovery, and as a result of that, we will be prioritizing policies that make for a more inclusive economy. You'd have seen earlier this year, we would have announced that the pilot for digital currency is underway right now in 2021. And digital currency will be, central bank digital currency will be a reality in Jamaica next year. Now, central bank digital currency offers the opportunity to bring large numbers of the unbanked and those outside of financial services within the umbrella of financial services. It will make financial services more accessible and more inclusive. Earlier, you'd have seen that we passed the legislation on the Microcredit Act, where we dramatically improved the requirements, the regulation, the oversight of the microcredit industry in order to fulfill certain AML CFT requirements, but also to upgrade the level of service that persons who access the microcredit sector receive, making the availability of credit in Jamaica more accessible and more inclusive. And we propose to do the same thing with insurance. Under this government, we will be pursuing a broadening of the base of the Jamaican economy, a deepening of the inclusiveness of the economy by making insurance accessible to all Jamaicans through a micro-insurance policy framework. We tend to think that it's only when you get to a certain level of income and formality that insurance is a product that you want or desire. At the end of the day, what is insurance? Insurance just allows you to provide for known and unknown risks. And so if those risks materialize, there are financial resources that flow at just the right time. Well, that need is not one that is based on your level of income, nor is it one that's based on your level of formality. All Jamaicans could do with some amount of insurance, whether it be on their property and casualty side or on the life side or other forms of insurance. But the way in which the legislative framework has been developed thus far does not allow or easily allow for micro-insurance products to be developed and marketed and sold. And so we are going to do something about that. And this pandemic provides opportunity for us to double down on our focus on inclusiveness and to ensure that the economic recovery that is underway and that's underway with great momentum is one that is inclusive and meets everyone at their point of need. So the vast majority of Jamaicans, actually, with a poor country with a per capita GDP of $5,500, the vast majority of Jamaicans are outside of the formal financial sector where formal insurance is available. And for them to be included, for their needs to be accounted for, we're going to have to create the legislative framework which forms part of the broader national financial inclusion strategy of the government of Jamaica. To make insurance available to informal commercial importers, to small enterprises and small firms to persons on the lower end of the income scale, it will be necessary for risks to be pooled so that the insurance product can be affordable. But the Insurance Act today doesn't easily allow for the pooling of risks because of the requirement that one has to have an equitable interest in what is being insured. And I'm just layman's language there. So we are going to have to take a surgical knife to the Insurance Act and put in place the provisions that will allow for micro-insurance products to develop and for micro-insurance products to be sold in a wholesome and way to the segment I identified earlier. The Microinsurance Act, which is under drafting as we speak, or is being drafted as we speak, will obviously define microinsurance, define a microinsurance product, will deal with the registration of microinsurance managers, that you have to be registered to provide a microinsurance service. It will also deal with fit and proper requirements for those engaged in providing microinsurance services. It will require that microinsurance products have certain minimum terms and minimum contract requirements for all microinsurance products. It will, very importantly, require that microinsurance products are, well, it will define the term of microinsurance products, and the term will be for a maximum of 1 year, though obviously it can be renewed. So you can't lock somebody in, indefinitely to be paying premium. They will have the opportunity to renew on an annual basis. And that is a key, that will be a key need to service this market properly where, incomes are low and there are a lot of demands on income. But in my view, most importantly, for the microinsurance industry to thrive in Jamaica and for not just tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of persons who fall outside of the financial services window, for those persons to be brought in, the microinsurance product has to serve them and serve their needs. So the legislation will require that microinsurance claims are resolved and paid out within 5 days, so that the experience of the insured is such that the microinsurance industry is seen as one that adds value. Now, there's been a substantial amount of work to make these amendments, and the Ministry of Finance and Public Service has been working with the Chief Parliamentary, or the Office of the Parliamentary Counsel, and with the Attorney General's chambers to bring this legislation to life. And I'm proud to be able to say at your conference, International Conference on Inclusive Insurance, that long before the end of this fiscal year, we will table the microinsurance amendments or the microinsurance bill in the House of Parliament. Now, while it is not customary to speak about what the Parliament will do, because the Parliament is obviously independent and independent of the Ministry of Finance, I can say it in terms of expectation. It is therefore my expectation that microinsurance will be a reality in Jamaica at some point in the next fiscal year. The government is serious about economic recovery, but more importantly, the government is serious about inclusive economic recovery. And therefore, we're taking deliberate, conscious, premeditated steps to enhance the policy environment and the legislative framework to bring hundreds of thousands of the unbanked, of the uninsured, into the formal financial services space where they too can have access to bank accounts, to insurance products, and to financial services in general. And this is a part of a comprehensive framework, and you can join the dots and you can see that we're not in no scattershot business. This is deliberately thought out, and it's a suite of initiatives, digital money, microcredit, microinsurance, that we would have brought to the Houses of Parliament and made a reality within a very short period of time. Now, it's going to be over to you, members of the insurance sector, to ensure that seamless quality service is delivered to the target population. Having the law and the legislation and the policy is one thing, but operationalizing it, having, in the private sector, is another thing altogether. You're going to have to make sure that people are comfortable to come into your offices. Your locations are going to have to be such that they are accessible. And being able to interact digitally is going to have to be a requirement. So I am responding to the challenge with the upgrade to the legislative and the policy environment. I want to issue a challenge to you to ensure, and I've given you ample notice, that we're going to table legislation in this fiscal year, long before the end of the fiscal year, long before. And I anticipate that it will pass in the next fiscal year, and the fiscal year begins April 1st of 2022. By the time it is passed, it is important that you are ready and that your customer service, your call centers, your locations, and your offices are such that members of the low-income community, informal commercial importers, small and micro enterprises feel comfortable accessing your service and feel confident purchasing your product. One hand can't clap. The government will do its part, and if you do your part, I am confident that not only will we have a vibrant V-shaped recovery, but we will have an inclusive, broad-based economic recovery. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Minister Clark. Except you know that we have a little present for you. You always have to come back. We have a presentation to you from the Insurance Association of Jamaica, and we thank you so much for being here this morning. Step a little.
If you can. Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge the president, obviously, of the Insurance Association of Jamaica, Dr. Adrian Stokes, and of course, moderator par excellence.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, thank you very much. We thank you so much for joining us. Minister, we need to take the pictures. Would you like them to stand here? Is this better for you? Right there is fine. Okay, thank you. All right, so we thank Minister Nigel Clark. Let's give him another round of applause, please. Definitely giving us some food for thought and also some breaking news, which we love. Thank you so much, Minister, for being here. We appreciate it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we also invite your participation as an audience today. I did say earlier that we are going into several sessions where you can ask questions. Our panel discussions are going to be very robust, and we ask you to participate by typing your questions into the chat if you're online. And of course, if you are here, you are not left out. Sometimes these days with virtual conferences, you can feel left out if you're actually in the audience. That's not the case today at all. After the first panel discussion, if you'd like to raise your hand, we will bring a sanitized microphone to you so that you can ask your question of any of our panelists. Our first discussion today centers around the regulatory framework for inclusive insurance. We welcome panelists Mr. Leon Anderson, consultant at the Financial Services Commission, Jamaica, Mrs. Elizabeth Smith, Senior Financial Analyst at the FSC Jamaica, and Mr. Rodolfo Werhan, International Microinsurance Consultant, and he'll be joining us via Zoom, as well as Elizabeth Smith. And Mr. Leon Anderson is ready, and then we'll have a discussion with all our panelists where you can ask questions shortly after. Leon, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation will feature how we got to the stage of legislation. The minister just spoke about the pending legislation on microinsurance. So I want to talk about our journey to this spot so far. The discussion points that I'll touch on briefly. I'll give you a brief history of microinsurance in Jamaica. Then I'll discuss the rationale that we had to require a regulatory framework for microinsurance business. The elements of the microinsurance project that subsequently followed that rationale, and our request for assistance to develop that framework. We had assistance from the IDB, initially from the World Bank, to assist us in developing this framework. And part of that assistance was a diagnostic study that I'll mention briefly. Then we had a public awareness program as part of the IDB program to launch basically an understanding and awareness of what microinsurance is all about in Jamaica, and then the legislation itself, and then a brief look at what we expect in the future. This is just a summary of what I just said. So we go on to the brief history. The Financial Services Commission is a member of the international community of regulators. The international community of regulators is supervised by an organization called the International Association of Insurance Supervisors, IAIS for short. And they have regular conferences annually, usually in the month of October. In 2009, that conference was in Brazil, and the FSC delegation was very interested in the many presentations on microinsurance. We figured that it was only a matter of time before our insurance industry in Jamaica would launch such types of insurance policies in the country. And in that case, the FSC, being the insurance regulator, should be in a position to be able to supervise these products if and when they were launched. So in 2010, the FSC approached the World Bank for assistance in developing a framework to supervise and regulate microinsurance. And in very, very quick order, the World Bank responded and put us onto the IDB. And the IDB sent a team with comprising representative from an organization called A2II, and that is just an acronym for Access to Insurance Initiative. And A2II is an international body that promotes inclusiveness for insurance all over the world. They are champions of microinsurance legislation, development all over the globe. And so A2II joined with the IDB to assist the FSC. The technical assistance was formally approved, and the approval not only addressed the regulatory and supervisory needs for which we applied. We got much more than we bargained for, actually, because the A2II and the IDB came to Jamaica, came to us at the Financial Services Commission, and we had several meetings and deliberations. And the objective was not just to assist in developing this legislation and this framework to supervise microinsurance, but to create an awareness of microinsurance in the country as a whole. So, A2II developed this program of meeting with the stakeholders, insurance companies, credit unions, Bank of Jamaica, and basically started the study to identify the awareness of microinsurance in Jamaica and to promote the need for such products. In 2013, we signed what is called an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, as to how the project would work. The inability of the FSC to regulate and supervise risk if or when local insurance was introduced, as I mentioned before, was the key rationale. The other rationale would be that we observed that the lower income sector of the population, referred to as the underserved, were not being served by insurance because of the expensive nature, the cost of insurance, and also lack of awareness of what insurance is, lack of appreciation, the need for financial education in insurance. And so A2II and IDB and the FSC developed a project. We had a project team as to how we will tackle this lack of awareness, push the need for the insurance sector to adopt microinsurance and introduce microinsurance in Jamaica. And so the project included not only an awareness feature of going around the various stakeholders and having regular meetings with them, internal training at the FSC, but also a diagnostic study. And this study, the objective of the study, of course, was to identify if there was a need for a microinsurance, to look at the underserved population, identifying aspects like income levels, social awareness of insurance, and basically the level of income compared to the cost of regular insurance. And so it was decided that the regulatory framework would be developed to improve the access to insurance. So the diagnostic study, just briefly to tell you that it was conducted in 2013 to 2014, and we got a report in 2014. And the study included interviews with the financial industry stakeholders, and I mentioned that before. we also enlisted the support of the University of the West Indies, the Mona School of Business, who conducted the research for us using mainly focus groups to get an understanding of the depth or penetration of insurance, not microinsurance necessarily, just insurance coverage in Jamaica. And some of the major findings of this diagnostic study, that there was a significant market for microinsurance. And I would like to just edit that to say a significant potential market. And it was estimated to close to 2 million persons. And the estimate was that 1.6 million persons in Jamaica would be in need of microinsurance, and it would get close to 2,000 if persons under 14 years old were included. Now, I said it is a potential market because the diagnostic study identified the need for insurance, that people would need insurance because of the activities that they were engaged in, the type of professions and so on, that small businesses and so on, that these persons were engaged in. So there was this need for insurance. And so there's this potential market if this need was tapped and the product was made available for microinsurance. Then, we have this large market. And the diagnostic study also mentioned that because of the Jamaican diaspora, this market could be even larger than the 2 million expected. Some major findings, some of which we already knew, was the cost of distribution and the product development were barriers to microinsurance, to entrance to the microinsurance market. The cost of distribution, of course, for regular insurance, we all know that for distribution, insurance companies engage intermediaries like brokers, agents, sales reps, and these persons have to be registered, and the cost for distribution by the insurance companies, they have to pay these people high commissions and so on and so forth. And so the cost would not be a conducive factor to introduce microinsurance, which obviously required low-cost distribution. The supervision, of course, required that these people be registered. They are to be competent. They are to have minimum levels of professional standards and training in insurance and so forth. So all of these were seen as barriers to the microinsurance product being successful. And so a major recommendation was, in fact, there was indeed a need for the reform of the regulatory framework to accommodate microinsurance. And so we launched a public awareness program with the assistance of A2II and IDB. There were a number of seminars and workshops internally with the staff at the FSC, with stakeholders, insurance companies, insurance intermediaries, and so on, all the stakeholders in the insurance industries. There were a number of presentations. We had outside radio broadcasts. Usually when we have this fora outside or the seminars, we had a radio broadcast that would bring this to a wider audience than the persons who were in attendance. And we also had articles in the press. And just an example, on November 4, 2013, in collaboration with IDB and the A2II team, the FSC hosted a microinsurance workshop right here at the Jamaica Pegasus. And the theme for that workshop was Microinsurance, Exploring a New Frontier. And we had 135 attendants. They're showing you a picture of that workshop. And there was a second one where the diagnostic results were presented. And I think that was in 2014 as well. A picture of the outside broadcast. And so all of this public awareness and discussion and training had the objective of developing the legislative framework for microinsurance. Now, a legislative framework that will be appropriate, that would address the weaknesses in regulation mentioned in the diagnostic report. And so we got consultative assistance again to attack the drafting of this new legislative framework. And this involved the review of the Insurance Act, which so far, we don't think we'll have to amend the Insurance Act just for microinsurance. And so the decision was taken to develop regulations instead of amending the Insurance Act. The choice was whether we develop a separate amendment to the Act just to accommodate microinsurance, or whether the Insurance Act as it exists could accommodate microinsurance without any amendments at all. And the opinion was that the current Insurance Act could, but we have to draft regulations to the Insurance Act to accommodate this new feature, because the microinsurance was not a new system of insurance as such. It wasn't a new class of insurance, I should say. Microinsurance is not a class of insurance. Microinsurance is insurance, but only dedicated to a particular sector of the society. And so the IDB financed the consultancy, as I mentioned before, to draft the proposed microinsurance regulations. And after extensive consultation with our stakeholder, the insurance industry, and other stakeholders, the proposed regulations were in fact drafted. And the minister just mentioned a short while ago that these regulations are now being drafted. We have reviewed at least one draft of the bill already. So what are some of the new provisions? What are some of the provisions of this new regulations on microinsurance? Microinsurance can be the business of microinsurance can be carried on by all insurance companies that are now registered. In addition to that, new entrants to the insurance industry can apply for registration to market microinsurance. So, but these new entrants, of course, will have minimum regulatory requirements. But if the application is to market microinsurance, then that's the only type of insurance that that entity will be able to market. You cannot market the regular insurance type of business. We have looked at the distribution model and agree with the diagnostic report that it is basically an obstacle because of the cost and the regulatory complications of this system. And so we decided that it will be simplified in the legislation. There will be distribution channels that will not necessarily include intermediaries. And I won't get into the details of that. But we looked at the distribution channels in other countries. In the process of consultation and in the process of being aware of microinsurance, the A2II and the IDB, we looked at frameworks in other countries. We looked at, in Africa, for example, Kenya, South Africa, Brazil, Peru, to see the systems that they have, especially concerning distribution. For example, in Kenya, the distribution is, a lot of the distribution takes place on mobile phones. In South Africa, and in Brazil, distributions take many forms. For example, a football club can distribute insurance, right? So the regulatory framework has to develop around these simple forms of distribution. The new regulation will also allow bundled products. It means that one insurance policy can include more than one class of insurance. For example, you might be able to buy life and health insurance on one policy and bundled together for microinsurance purposes. And this is because of the simple nature of the product. One that is not here, and the minister mentioned, was the simplicity of the microinsurance contract. It must be very simple in English, and the contract should not be written on more than one page, right? And so it should be really a simple document that is easily understandable by the potential policyholder. Composite insurance products will be allowed only for microinsurance policies. And composite insurance means that an insurance company can be a composite company. And if you're if the insurance company is a composite company, then it can market both life insurance and general insurance. Right now, that is not possible under the insurance legislation, but it will be allowed only for microinsurance. So for microinsurance, a company will be able to sell all classes of insurance. Interestingly, the annual premium should not exceed the amount equivalent to 5 weeks' wages pursuant to the current National Minimum Wage Act. And while we are not setting a limit on the sum assured, we are saying that there should be a limit on the premiums, which will, of course, automatically set the limit on the sum assured. It should not, the annual premium, and when I say premium, I mean annual premium, should not exceed 5 weeks of the annual wages and annual minimum wages. And so that's where we are now. And the minister also mentioned that claims should be settled in 5 days. That is also in the Act. We are developing guidelines to the microinsurance regulations, and the guidelines will set out details of products approval, premium development, product development, and claims. So now we are looking towards the future, and the minister mentioned that very soon we'll have the implementation of the microinsurance regulations, and so that is the first thing that we are looking forward to, and the completion of the microinsurance guidelines, which are substantially completed, but we are waiting on the completion, the final version of the microinsurance regulations so that we can complete the guidelines. Internal regulatory and supervisory supervision. Of course, we have had some of that, but that will have to continue so that the FSC will be proficient in supervising the microinsurance products and the microinsurance companies when the products come on stream. And as I mentioned earlier, as part of the International Supervisory Committee, we are always in contact with our colleagues overseas, those who are already in supervision of microinsurance. And of course, the objective is to learn from them. And we are in frequent contact with them, and we will develop our supervision skills consistent with what is internationally recognizable. We'll continue the financial inclusion program, microinsurance, yes, but having introduced the supervisory framework, although the FSC is a regulator, we don't introduce products, we supervise them. But it doesn't mean that we cannot encourage, persuade, and and discuss with our stakeholders the need to introduce, develop markets to promote and to accelerate the development of the microinsurance business in Jamaica. Because as part of the financial inclusion, it is very important that every person has access to this type of protection. And we'll continue the collaboration with stakeholders. And just before I go, just to mention, it's not on the slide, but we did have discussion with IDB way back. I think that was about 2010, 2009, where initially we were looking at microinsurance for catastrophe risks, using what we call parametric insurance, which is different from insurance that indemnifies. And that is still a part of the way going forward, especially for farmers who are adversely affected every time there's a catastrophe, windstorm, flooding. And so that is part of the program that we'll be looking forward to in the next phase. And so this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leon Anderson, consultant with the FSC Jamaica. We now hear from Mrs. Elizabeth Smith, Senior Financial Analyst at the FSC Jamaica.
Good morning, everyone, and I'd like to thank the facilitators for inviting me to make a presentation, and I would like to also say good morning to those who are listening by means of virtual connection. And if I sound a little bit out of breath, it's the excitement that I feel after hearing the Minister Clark indicated that very soon microinsurance will be a reality. So what we'd like to look at is what really obtains in the Caribbean in terms of the natural disasters, and you remember Mr. Dirk mentioned that. We'll look at mitigation, and then do we really have microinsurance products in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, and any development onwards, and what will happen in the future. So just to get a feel though of when we talk about the Caribbean, there's a map that will come up shortly indicating we're talking about the Caribbean, what are we looking at? All right, so clearly you can see what really obtains in the Caribbean. You have very tiny countries in some instances, and we're surrounded by vast waters. And there are numerous, well, quite a few countries that exist. And if you were to do research, some would say 26, some say 13, some say 14. But the point is that you have quite a few countries that obtain, and they're referred to as islands. Now, what I would like to explain is that within these Caribbean territories, how it operates is that you'll have persons rely heavily on fishing, agriculture, there's some forestry, mining, whether in oil, gas, as well as bauxite. Then too, tourism is a major form of staple within the Caribbean. So considering where we are and what we have to offer, the next slide will show you what do most people think of when you talk about the Caribbean. All right, so what you can see is that persons may know us for music. You have heard of Bob Marley. Persons are aware of us in terms of the festivities that we have in the various Caribbean territories. Persons will talk about the food, how they enjoy that. And everyone would know about Usain Bolt and his famous pose to the world. and how well he has done with athletics. That's what persons think of, maybe, when they talk about the Caribbean. But then we're also known for other things. What? Natural disasters. That captures exactly what can happen in that Caribbean territory. We're prone to hurricanes. In fact, it's not unusual to have named storms, 26 named storms. Sometimes we go through the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, and then we move on to the Greek alphabet. That will tell you how many named storms we can have. So you can have 2 storms for every month, if you would like to look at it that way. We're prone to earthquakes, we experience drought, and we have bushfires. We are known to be in a hurricane season, and that starts from June 1 to November 30th. And if you were to check that, you're looking at 6 months. Just think about it. In a given year, 6 months out of that, we are prone to experience some form of disaster or some form of event. And usually that can be a hurricane or a storm. But earlier, as I said, persons would have known us for just maybe having these long beaches, where you can go and swim. Persons will know us for having the resorts, famous resorts like Atlantis in the Bahamas, and so on. But following a disaster, like a hurricane, a Category 3 hurricane, 4 or 5, then some of these famous resorts are impacted. And the very people who provide the services to these resorts, like the fishing industry, the type of art and craft, the vegetables, those very people who provide the services are severely impacted because of that disaster. So let's see, though, what kind of impact that can have. So if we were to do a little history, we would see that there are several events that have affected the Caribbean over the years. But I decided just to zero in on the most recent ones. And our memory may take us back to Hurricane Maria and Hurricane Dorian. Those are some most recent events. And the slides tell you the type of effect that it has had in terms of dollars, billions of dollars. And in the case of Hurricane Dorian, as you know, it would have impacted mainly Bahamas. And see how much cost that it is to a tiny island. There are other things to consider, though, and not everything is necessarily covered in research. But while I did some review, what I found out was that in terms of vegetation, for example, following a storm or following a hurricane in one country, for example, Jamaica, it can cost as much as $5 billion in terms of loss as it relates to just vegetation alone. I'm not talking about infrastructure, I'm talking about crops. Persons that are putting hard work in it. We have coconut industries. People rely on that as a staple, whether for food or whether or not they may use it for art and craft or for various things. And some of these items are exported. So think of what the terrible effect it can have following a disaster. But then you may ask yourself, if the Caribbean is known to be or severely impacted from these disasters, what have we been doing? Is there any form of mitigation? And the next slide will show us that definitely that is the case. So yes, so what you have been finding over the years is that we have become more knowledgeable and understanding of what is happening. So prior to the start of the hurricane season, as June 1, you'd have bulletins that are issued informing us of whether or not it will be an active season. And by active, it will be determined by the number of storms that is expected to hit the Caribbean and whether or not they may form into a hurricane. So persons are aware of that. And you get these news bulletins, whether or not it's from the television or the radio. And now everyone knows about social media in terms of tweeting, Facebook. Those are famous persons who've been aware. So they're conscious of what is happening. And they recognize that when there is going to be a disaster, what should persons do? Should stock up, make sure that batten down certain kind of items, those who may have like vegetables or they have um, animals and so on, make sure that they're placed securely and they're protected. And in the case of persons who do fishing, they recognize what they should do with their boats, how they can protect themselves. In construction, there has been improvement in that. Following Gilbert, especially in Jamaica, where many persons would have lost their roofs, persons would have now been exposed and understand that they need a hurricane strap. So they would endeavor to make sure they tighten up securely to prevent losing their roofs. Also, people recognize that if you construct in a particular area which is prone to landslides, slippages, then you need to remove yourself from there to ensure that livelihood, the persons and their lives are saved. And you, especially in our country, Jamaica, you will have those messages being sent out. Persons are urged to remove from a particular area just to protect themselves or encouraged not to build there. And in education, in terms of school, persons, children understand from a tender age what is a hurricane, what is needed, how can they protect themselves. And that will help not only the kids, but also their older ones, especially grandparents, to develop an appreciation for that. And then finally, insurance. To some extent, there is insurance, not for everyone, in terms of affordability, where persons are able to do so. So let's zero in now whether or not we have micro-insurance in the Caribbean. And the next slide will takes us there. You'll find, though, that there have been some government initiative, and if you listen closely, you would have heard our minister, the Minister Clark, referred to CRIF, the Caribbean. I'm not even here to see my slide, but the CRIF, the facility that has existed, and this has started many years ago, as far back as the year 2007, and it exists in 19 countries. So within those countries, what you'll find is that these persons will pay a certain amount of premium, and they anticipate that in event that there's any kind of weather, or for example excessive rainfall, then there's a trigger, and that trigger determines whether or not they will receive that payment. You may have heard of Mr. Anderson's discussion when he spoke about parametric insurance. That's the type of facility that exists with CRIF. And you may ask yourself whether or not it works. It must be working because it's in 19 countries. And when I looked and examined the reports, I've seen that, for example, in the year 2016, 19 countries received payouts. In 2017, 12 countries received payouts. That form of insurance clearly must be working because countries have been collecting funds, especially for our most vulnerable persons, which will include persons in the fishing industries, farmers. They also have their LPP product, and that too they'll speak about in terms of how it has done well, and they have worked closely with cooperatives for persons to have access to that type of facility. So in terms of microinsurance, that is what exists within the Caribbean. But then from the insurance company perspective, there's also the same livelihood protection policy that exists, LPP, and I'm certain later on you'll hear of that insurance company that has been promoting that product, and they'll speak clearly of how well it has done. So to that extent, that is how microinsurance exists within the Caribbean. So that slide is showing that that has been the aim, especially with the insurance company that have been pushing, and they've done so in Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Grenada. What you'll find though, like with everything else, when you're introducing something that is new, you will have challenges and there are certain issues. What do I mean by that? Legislation. Now, earlier, you'd have heard the minister would have mentioned that there is a proposal. Well, it's more than a proposal. He's saying by the end of the fiscal year, he's anticipating that that bill will be passed. So clearly, we can remove, there's no formal legislation because eventually we are going to have that. But in the Caribbean on a whole, there isn't any. So what persons have been doing is using the current legislation that they have to allow persons to participate in that. But for it to work very well, there has to be an aim, or we have to work to have the development of legislation in microinsurance. There's also financial literacy. Mr. Anderson spoke about Access to Insurance Initiative. They've been working very hard in the Caribbean. For the past 5 or 6 years, they have made several presentations in the Caribbean islands, encouraging persons. Last year, quite a few persons participated in a program for a week where they had an action plan indicating what they could do to improve on inclusive insurance in the Caribbean, and persons are working hard towards that. Clearly, in order for this product to work, it has to be accessibility. Persons need to know where to find and where they can find this kind of product, and that has been the aim, working in that regard. Do we have any issues? Do we perceive any challenges? Clearly. The next slide will explain what we think. For example, we need to ensure that for this product to continue to move, what you'll find happening now is that since Jamaica is far further ahead in terms of coming up with a legislation, and clearly the other Caribbean islands will be reviewing what we have to see how is it that they can make use of it in terms of developing their own legislation. So because of that, we have to look at what type of structure do we have, whether or not it will facilitate that. Microinsurance may occur in North America or in other countries, and it may do very well there, simply because there have been several studies that have existed there where persons understand what happens in terms of a loss, how do you price it, and then again, access to reinsurance. These are the challenges that persons face, and we still have that uphill battle in terms of understanding insurance. You may think it's just persons who may not be financially literate who don't understand insurance, but I'll tell you that even persons who may be educated do have a challenge and will question what is insurance about, even though they benefited from it in terms of whether they have life insurance, health insurance, motor vehicle insurance, but they have a challenge when it comes to understanding what is parametric insurance and what is microinsurance and will it work. So we have to do additional push to make persons have appreciation for it, to say we are all benefiting from insurance in some form or another. Why not microinsurance? Why not allow persons to have that chance to do so? And then coming to the final slide, the way forward, partnerships. I think what we had today is an excellent way in which we can push forward, where we have had a minister who have commented on it and shown that that there's a push for that. I also would think that persons will have to come to liaise more, maybe with the World Bank. We also invite the insurance companies too to continue for that push, not only in one Caribbean territory, but also on a whole in all the jurisdictions, because currently we can see where we have a number of insurance companies that have branches in the different territories in the Caribbean. So it's not far-fetched, but with that push and with that drive, maybe another 3 years or so, we'll be saying microinsurance is a reality in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elizabeth Smith, Senior Financial Analyst at the FSC Jamaica. We now welcome Mr. Rodolfo Werhan, International Microinsurance Consultant.
Good morning, everybody. A pleasure to be here, unfortunately remotely. I love Jamaica. I would love to be there, joining you and sharing as much as possible. Anyway, this is a new normal, so I'm happy to be here and share with you some of my thoughts based on many years of working in the development of microinsurance. You see, when we look at the development of microinsurance, we try to look at a holistic approach. And basically, we look at 6 areas. Just one before, please. The 6 areas are government policy. How strong is the government encouraging microinsurance development? And in the case of Jamaica, obviously, it's very strong. Then you look at the economic condition and other support functions. That's relevant because the economy dictates you what's the market that is available for microinsurance, how many people are underserved, and so on. But these support functions are related to data, models. You know, data is very critical for the pricing of products and the cost of those. Then you look at the next axis, which is the social protection existing in the country, because there's a close overlap between social protection and microinsurance, and you want to make sure that they don't crowd out, that social protection does not crowd out, but that they complement, support each other. The 4th area is the credibility in the providers. That's very, very important. The next area is the products. Are the products available, affordable, and so on? And finally, unlicensed activity, which is not desirable because you want to work in a framework that protects everybody. And underlying all these axes is, of course, the legislation that supports all these areas. And that's the topic of this presentation. Here you can see the critical aspects of a successful microinsurance development. And I will talk to each one of them in that is trusted and familiar to the target population, knowing what they are buying. The next one, timely and fair claims payment, is related to an effective use of these products, effectiveness of the products. The awareness, of course, is they have to know that there is a tool to help them. And the last one is very relevant. You don't want people using microinsurance by taking microinsurance to add an additional risk in exchange, like failure of companies and so on. So let's move on and look into the product development. What is important there? A strong legislation, and Jamaica is in the best path to achieve that with the new microinsurance regulation. And I'm sure they can further enhance it through guidelines, as Leo was alluding to. So guidelines that require proof of deep knowledge of the target population. Only then you can serve the population. You have to prove that you are doing the proper research or needs assessment. Needs assessment is a requirement whenever you want to introduce a product. Then that's a critical one. Normally, in normal insurance, you classify lines of business, right? Here, in microinsurance, ideally is you classify the lines of products based on protection provided. Is this protecting farmers? Is this protecting commercial, small commercial enterprises? What is it, or women? Depending on that, you can classify the products accordingly. Not like this is property, this is casualty, this is life, this is accident, but on the protection they provide. Finally, a file and sell approach. Of course, with a guaranteed recourse. You don't want to have people suffering because there are some mis-selling or wrong products. But delaying and putting the burden on the supervisor to decide is this microinsurance, is this not, is too much. It delays the whole process. And I have seen in many countries, supervisors are reluctant to say, yes, it is microinsurance, because then they will bear the full responsibility. It's better to allow the companies to be responsible on that, and of course have the ability to correct that situation without penalizing the consumers of microinsurance. Next topic, please. Distribution familiar. If it's not familiar, if they don't trust the distribution, it's gonna be very difficult to sell microinsurance. They're gonna see another guy that's coming to try to, take their money away, basically. But if it's familiar, that's great. But the problem with that is that these distributions are not interested in learning insurance, then getting license, and so on. So you have to have legislation, and Jamaica is going to have that, non-traditional distribution channels allowed. But of course, as you can see, direct or indirect supervision is necessary. With indirect, I mean that the insurance company takes the full responsibility of the actions. And hence, they will provide the training according to the product. If the product is too complex, they are not going to be able to sell through the normal familiar channels reaching out for the low-income population. So that's, kind of, you don't put a brake on the product, but on the training how to sell the product and explain it, which is much more important. Next slide, please. The transparency. The first point, no misleading benefits. In insurance, unfortunately, the way commercial insurance is sold is they say, the name of the product implies that everything is covered, I don't know. There are many examples of that, but the main sources of that are excluded. For instance, the example of travel insurance today, pandemic is excluded, or pre-existing conditions, and that's sometimes misused. But if you have a high blood pressure and then in the trip you have a heart attack, this might be excluded because of that. That's bad practice, So no misleading benefits, even in the title of the benefit. Okay. For instance, then the main source of claim should not be excluded. For instance, if you sell a protection for the market sellers, you don't want to exclude burglary or even robbery. You have to include that. That might be the main source. Or motorbikes, what is the main source of a problem? Or cell phones, what is the main source of claims? You cannot exclude that in an effective product. And of course, you have to be careful as an insurance company. You have to have the data, you have to be able to price and avoid fraud, of course. Underwriting, you try to avoid to do individual underwriting. First of all, that's costly. Second, people are not used to buy insurance and hence are not very familiar with the implications, with the exact questions that they ask. And sometimes the questions are posed in commercial insurance in a way that protects the insurance company rather than the consumer. So underwriting based on public data would be the ideal situation as much as possible. You can have exclusions, but then they should be, of course, highlighted. And all these responsibilities, including exclusions and that, in one page with examples. Well, it could be 2 pages, I don't know, you don't want to have small print, but with examples. What does it mean, pre-existing conditions, if you're going to exclude that, which is a very difficult exclusion. Okay, next slide, please. Timely and fair claims payment. Your new regulation for microinsurance requires payment within 5 days. I say, in most countries, what it is the availability of the benefit should be on time to fit the purpose of the coverage. In some countries, you have to bury your debts within 24 hours. So you have to have the money within that time. Otherwise, the people would take a loan, and then the purpose of the insurance is, questionable at least. Then the other thing, how you settle claims, you want to introduce something like only one time additional information might be requested, because there is sometimes a practice to require this, and then, oh, I found this additional thing, please provide me this and that. And then that frustrates people that are for the first time consuming insurance. And very important is accessible complaints framework connected to the supervisor. Not only the insurance, but the supervisor at the same time. And this, when I say accessible, it has to be, easy accessible. If they use cell phones in Jamaica, it should be through that media. If they are used to go to the small shops could have, a direct line or a way to communicate, to receive complaints. I'm talking about ideal regulation, of course. And next slide, it will tell you, going forward in some advanced development, you're going to use technology for that. Like, payments could be done by these familiar channels, by the small shops and that, but you need to track claims using blockchain technology. When was it filed, received the money, paid, and so on, so that it's there for control purposes. In addition to that, automatic claim payments through smart policies is the way to go. With that, I mean contracts that, for instance, in case of accident or death, the system checks registries of deaths or accidents, major accidents in transit, and immediately release the payment. So without actually claiming. I have seen that for travel insurance, for instance, a delay of airplanes, that is automatically. If the airline delays the plane, you get a check in your credit card. So if you do that, then insurance will be a very, very nice experience. You don't need to claim, it happens and you have the money before you even think, how am I gonna pay this, on what's the inconvenience of that. Of course, it requires technology, technological development. Next slide, please. Awareness. Okay. Whoever is selling microinsurance should have a budget and require some awareness activities. That's not only for the benefit of commercializing the goods, but it's also important for the people to be aware what it covers and what it doesn't protect of. You will never get rich with microinsurance as a consumer. That's a very important message. The second important message is, if you don't have a claim, you're helping others that have had a claim. You're not helping the insurance company or the provider of microinsurance. You're helping your neighbor, your community. That message should be there. The next one is the relevance of the awareness to the target population risks. You wanna make them aware of their risks, not things that sometimes you wanna sell. And family and community awareness programs is very, very much encouraged, not only individuals, but family and community awareness programs. And there should be a budget for that by the providers. Next slide, please. No impact for policyholders due to failures or mis-selling. For that, you need risk-based supervision. But when I say risk-based, the supervisor should look at the risk that, failure of the company, of not fulfilling their responsibilities, and accordingly act to that. This will be reflected in the intensity of supervision, requirements, and including capital requirements. If they have a very small amount and a good reinsurance, they probably don't need much capital. Then, in case of failures, you need a guarantee fund to protect whoever is providing microinsurance, because failures can happen and will happen, but you don't want to let the people wait, or lose even their premiums or their benefits. That should be immediate compensation and a full amount compensation in this case. Many guarantee funds of commercial insurance only indemnify a certain percentage. And finally, recourse in case of faulty product or mis-selling activity by the distribution channel. This means, immediate refunding of the premium. Now, the next slides just show you very briefly. Next slide. Where in the regulation you can deal with these different 6 points. Of course, definition of microinsurance, the licensing conditions, product design, product approval process. This will cover the first point. Next slide. We can go fast these ones, because it just tells you where in the regulation you need to do. So for this, of course, distribution, registration, or licensing requirements, very important, the definition, because if you define well what microinsurance is, then there won't be an abuse of a distribution selling other products, and also the commercial insurance agents will feel comfortable that they are playing the same. You're not allowing others to enter the ground without license or without the proper requirements and tests and so on. Next slide, please. The one about transparency, that's again definition of microinsurance, product design, product approval, what information you have to provide, what exclusions can you do or you should provide. Okay, next one. Claim payments regulation, market conduct rules, consumer protection. These are the areas where the regulation can determine these aspects. Next one. And awareness is licensing, market conduct, consumer protection. In the licensing, you could have a requirement that, when you enter, you have to set up a percentage of the premiums for awareness programs, something in that sense. Next slide. That are the prudential rules, reinsurance, guarantee fund, consumer protection, and of course, guarantee fund. I don't know if you are planning to have that in Jamaica, but I encourage that to set up. Next slide. Here I have chosen the Philippines as an example to share with you what type of regulation they have. You can see basically all the aspects here that I mentioned are covered. The definition. Very important that all licensed entities are allowed to do microinsurance. Then there are lower capital requirements based on the risk that they run, that they take. The supervision is also risk-based supervision, risk-based capital. Separate market conduct rules. You cannot have the same market conduct rules for commercial insurance and for that. Even in commercial insurance, if you're dealing with high, corporations insurance, like, oil platforms and that, then the consumer protection rules should also be different there. And dedicated microinsurance agents, I mentioned that. Next slide. Even though the Philippines began in 2009 introducing this microinsurance regulation, in 2015 they had to add additional to enhance it, and what are the permissible functions for these agents when they provide microinsurance, then how microinsurance products may be bundled, because there was some excess, and microinsurance sessions, microinsurance risk sessions and acceptance. This is based on the prudential aspects of that. Next slide, please. And Jamaica and the Philippines, they have a lot of exposure to typhoons and that, and the agriculture suffers a lot. Recently, the agriculture microinsurance framework has been updated with the introduction of a sandbox regulation for that. This regulation has and is encouraging further development of agriculture. You can see here in this slide that it defines parametric and indemnity products that are allowed, what type of assets may be covered, who can take this insurance, proof of insurable interest. It doesn't matter if you own But if you are a farmer that rents the land, you can also take this type of insurance. And what parameters can you use? Here, the regulator has gone into a lot of detail to protect farmers, because this is, you don't want to have basis risks and things like that. And okay, next slide, please. This is a mistake. I repeated that. Can we skip this one? Next slide, please. As a result of this, here you can see the development of this market. You can see 99 new available microinsurance products, and you can see the spread. It's not only life, right? You also have hospital cash, you have inpatient care, outpatient care, critical illness, other illness. And the beauty about this, Elizabeth was mentioning about disaster risk protection for in the form of microinsurance. And you can see foreign insurance are developing climate risk products for microinsurance. With that, and maybe one more comment. Elizabeth mentioned the importance of tourism to the Caribbean, and that's true. We had a similar situation in Nepal, in another work that I did, and we suggested an index product to protect the tourism industry. And the trigger was basically, no matter what the event was, if you compare the number of tourists arriving in a country that is below the average minus something of the expected number, then there was a payout. That's a challenge for the insurance companies, but it's so beneficial for a country, basically for the tourism industry, which is critical for the Caribbean. Thank you very much again for allowing me to share some of my thoughts, and I'm open for questions when we are closing this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rodolfo. I have to say, I love your background that shows me you really wanted to be in Jamaica today. Can you tell? He's sad he's not here, and he really looks forward, am I correct, for being here next year. It's like he can't wait. The beach is great here in Jamaica. Thank you very much. So we thank Leon Anderson, Elizabeth Smith, and Rodolfo Werhan. And just before, I just want to remind our live audience that in order to ask questions, please raise your hand and the microphone will be brought to you where you are. And online, I see persons are already using our chat, and I'm going to read some of the comments to you. Rodolfo, this one is for you. My best regards to my old friend. And Mr. Peter Ride from Jakarta.
Oh my God.
I know. I feel so international. And really great to hear. This is from Hannah Grant. Really great to hear about the progress on the MI regulation in Jamaica. A2II has been involved there for many years, and it is really exciting to hear how it is now moving forward. Congratulations to all involved. Sorry to be late. That's okay. Mr. or Miss Steele representing the SBAJ. All right. And nice to see you all. Regards, this is Ms. or France Wiono. Nice to see you all. It's now 10 p.m. in our country. That's Jakarta, Indonesia, and we hope to visit your country next year. Wiono, we hope to see you as well. So, are there any questions from our audience here? Or from the audience online? And specifically, I know that specifically we're talking about the regulatory framework for inclusive insurance where this is concerned, but at this point in the conference. But if you have any other question that you would like to ask, feel free. I can kick it off though, and I can ask Rodolfo, Leon, and Elizabeth, can you share, I know that there must have been roadblocks, Rodolfo, for yourself, you're coming from an international perspective. And I'm always curious about the roadblocks that come up eventually become even bigger roadblocks, or if it's not resolved properly in the outset or in this framework that we're establishing, it can rear its ugly head again. So how do you close those gaps, so to speak, when you solve those problems? What were they, and how do you close the gaps so that they don't rear?
You want to Rodolfo to go first?
Whoever wants to go first. Everybody's mic is unmuted.
Okay, let me answer that question. Of course, there are many, many roadblocks, and depends on the country and the culture and so on. But you know, the most important one is the regulator is always cautious on allowing, you know, for instance, products without approval, without their scrutiny. They are reluctant to lower capital requirements or reporting requirements. And I understand that. It's, you know, they've been doing this and they have seen very difficult situations, you know, companies failing and that. And they don't want to have that situation when low-income people are using that. So I think it is a balance act between allowing development, new technologies, lower capital, new players, not directly supervised channels to play an important role. So this is the major roadblock that I see, and it requires dialogue, it requires trust, and I guess a leap of faith. You know, I mean, what is the cost benefit? Of course, you know, having very strong recourse requirements and redress, it's critical, and you have to be, you know, taking public executions in case of misbehavior. So I think that's what I wanted to share. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Rodolfo. I see you nodding away, Elizabeth. You had anything to add to that?
Certainly, thank you. That's part of it, and that's why it's so exciting when the regulators have an appreciation. And I'm certain insurance companies will share that view. Once the regulator understands what is required, then the barriers to entry will be reduced. But on the other hand, too, what I find can be a barrier is the understanding of insurance. Insurance is not a topic that people gradually want to hear. There is definitely mistrust on both sides. Consumers mistrust insurance companies may mistrust consumers, and it's the balancing act to some extent, as Rodolfo mentioned. I think, though, public education is the means of reducing that and understanding that. And just to not go into that topic, let's just think of the very matter of the vaccine, which is a topical issue, or even politics is a topical issue. But the point I'm getting is that once persons have an appreciation and understanding, they can make an informed decision, whether they choose to yes or no, but at the end of the day, they would have been educated to understand what is in it for me and whether or not I may choose to do so, yes or no.
Yeah, and in addition to what Liz and Rodolfo just said, there was some amount of, I wouldn't say resistance, but from the insurance, our insurance sectors, especially the intermediaries.
Especially who?
The intermediaries.
Intermediaries, okay.
Because a key aspect of microinsurance, the success of it, is the distribution. And you know, that sector of the insurance industry, that's their forte. And so they were not too sure if the introduction to this form, a new form of distribution, would undermine their type, their mode of operation. And as Liz said, participation with stakeholders, discussion and so on, that helped to alleviate that fear. But in addition to all of what was said, I think the major challenge was understanding microinsurance, the supervision of microinsurance by the regulator, by us, what microinsurance is about, how should we approach the regulation, what the framework should look like. And unfortunately for us, we recognized that right up front and sought assistance, which we got. And we have been in this process since 2010. Now it's 2021. And all of these challenges mentioned by Rodolfo and Elizabeth, we face them. And we are still facing them. We expect to still be facing them in the future. And as Liz said, public education, dialogue with our stakeholders, insurance companies, intermediaries, and potential policyholders, the general public, is very, very important, because I don't know if the suspicion is as deep for insurance as it is for the vaccine, but people just don't trust insurance. You know, and you have to really market it. You have to really market it. It's not a tangible product. It's not a tangible product that you just come and take off the shelf. And if once persons start to understand the benefit of what insurance is, because some people who come to me and say, you know, it's just because the government want money, they want you to insure the car, and they have been driving for 10 years without an accident and they don't get any benefit. And I said, what will happen if you have an accident tomorrow? Do you expect to get a benefit?
Mm-hmm. Now, listening to you as a marketer, and I'm sure that my colleagues will say this about us and our department, very often we want to put the razzle-dazzle and the glitter on any product. And I will say that just sitting here listening to the background and where we're coming from to get to this place, it has been very hard work. My question though, are we late?
Good question. I don't think you can ever be late for insurance once there's life going on. There's a need for protection, because you know one has to live. You have financial needs that you have to meet, and so once there is life and you know there is business going forward, you have assets, you have a family that you have to protect, and so on. Once there is life, there is need for protection. For your life, for your health, for your property. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think you can ever be late for insurance. And I'm not a marketer.
You did well though. That was a good plug. That was a good plug. Any final words from you, Elizabeth, or Rodolfo, Leon, any of you?
Maybe let me piggyback on Liz's comment about, you know, people don't understand insurance, and that's true. You know, but that's why I said one of the key elements is to say, you know, what you protect. For instance, you could say to a person that sells every day in the market, you will get income if the market is closed. You don't tell them, you know, we're going to issue a policy of flood or fire, or whatever that's, you know, making the market close. The protection is if the market is closed, obviously you cannot sell, then you get some income. So shifting the thought of away from lines of business to protection, I think that's something that will make microinsurance not too late. You know, because if you keep selling, you know, flood, index and that, it's late. Sorry to be negative about that.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth?
Yeah, my comment would be that we are having an international conference in Jamaica. They could have chosen anywhere else. They have had it in various countries in Asia. They have had it in South America. Just think of that, a tiny little island. To the Caribbean now, they're looking at the Caribbean. So maybe we're late, but the point is that we're on our way and we're doing very well. And kudos would go to those persons who are putting in the hard work. It may have been a long journey, but then good things come to those who wait.
Absolutely. Leon?
I'm very happy to be here participating in this conference. I was going to echo similar sentiments to Liz. It's very heartening that we are participating internationally on microinsurance, which is, as far as the Caribbean is concerned, is a developing type of insurance, and is a very important topic to address, taking into consideration our social, economic condition and our exposure to risk, to catastrophe risk. So I'm very happy that we're having this, this seminar today as part of an international conference discussing this very, very important topic of microinsurance, where we can get insurance protection to everybody, including the low-income persons.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panelists, Rodolfo, Elizabeth, Leon, thank you very much. We are going to take a break now. Unfortunately, I can't send you the coffee, Rodolfo. I apologize for that. Next year, I promise I'll have it for you here, and I'll have it for you to take back with you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Leon and I and the rest of our live audience will be taking a quick break, and when we come back, we'll go to the financial inclusion panel through GK1 Parametric Insurance. So 15 minutes roughly, and then we'll be back. But then again, we do have a gift for you, Leon, Elizabeth, and Rodolfo. I guess FedEx? I don't know. Come, please. Leon, this is a gift for you, a token of a token of our appreciation for you being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll be back,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you can leave now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to the outer foyer for coffee, tea, and snacks. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our second panel today is Financial Inclusion through GK1 Parametric Insurance. Please welcome panelists Mr. Shaluk Richards, GM, GK General Insurance. Gentlemen, if you could just give it a little wave. Thank you. Mr. Stephen Whittingham, COO, GK Financial Group. Mr. Jordan Tate, Assistant GM, GK General Insurance. Did I see a wave from Jordan? Hi, Jordan. Mr. Peter White, Marketing Manager, National PC Bank. And Mr. Jason Moses, Manager, Financial Inclusion, GK1. Over to you, Shaluk.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Those present and those joining us online. This is groundbreaking that we're having this, multifaceted discussion. So today we're going to be talking about the Grace Kennedy financial groups and the Grace Kennedy journey into financial inclusion. And so to start that off, I'll invite Stephen. Stephen, does share with us a little bit more about Grace Kennedy so we can get the discussion underway.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, everyone here and online. I think in order to understand why Grace Kennedy has played such a huge role in financial inclusion in Jamaica and inclusive insurance, you have to understand Grace Kennedy as an organization. I'm going to share a little video in a little bit, which gives you some context on who we are as an organization. But for those of us who aren't in Jamaica, Grace Kennedy is, our CEO describes it as a global consumer group headquartered right here in Kingston, Jamaica. Our business really consists of two lines of businesses. Our foods business, which is a global foods business with manufacturing and distribution in the Caribbean, in North America, USA, Canada, and in Europe, England, and mainland Europe. And our financial services business, which is our second line of business, which is basically a regional business within the Caribbean. And within our financial services business, insurance is the largest generator of revenue for our financial services segment. But to understand why we're so focused on inclusion, it's really about who Grace Kennedy is and has been as an organization. We are 99 years old, actually, in about 3 or 4 months. In February of 2022, we're celebrating 100 years of being in existence. And it's not about the business that Grace Kennedy has built over time, even though we have such a great connection with our customers and with our consumers, as everyone in this room can say they've grown up on Grace products. But it really is who we are as an organization. And that changed over time from being focused on CSR to where we are now on ESG principles and sustainability. But I just want to show this little video, which kind of will make you understand who Grace Kennedy is as an organization.
I'm Caroline Mahfood. I'm the CEO of the Grace Kennedy Foundation. I've actually worked there now for 12 years. And we basically focus on 3 key areas: education, the environment, and healthy lifestyles. I love my job. It's the best job in the whole company, actually. I always say that because it's all about giving to others. I love the people that I work with. We're a great team, and it's just wonderful to see lives change because of the work that we do.
Hi, I'm Tankita Chance Wilson, General Manager of the Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation. We are the community outreach arm of Grace Kennedy. So we are based in the communities. We work very closely in participating in contributing to the community development initiatives and activities in the communities neighboring Grace Kennedy's offices. And these are largely underserved communities. So the needs are varied and they're pretty significant. So we have quite a bit more focus though. We have 3 major focus areas: education support, community development, and volunteerism. So a lot of what we do is targeted in those 3 focus areas.
So COVID-19 definitely has impacted our work. We've had to do things differently. However, my board has been really committed to the fact that we need to continue to support the initiatives that are making a big impact. So for example, our scholarship program, instead of cutting the funding for our scholarship program, we actually increased it. And we're continuing to increase it. We're seeing greater needs now, and we're continuing to increase funding to meet those needs.
For Grace to believe in my dreams and saw it worthy for investment, is, in a nutshell, is just amazing, Grace.
Within Grace and staff, we obviously had to pivot is the term that everyone's using, and we certainly had to pivot. We had to make changes to how we do things. We are the loving, caring arm of Grace Kennedy, and so there's a lot of touchy-feely and in the communities and moving about. We weren't able to do that during COVID-19, during the pandemic, and so persons had to work from home. It's very difficult to carry out community development work from home because it requires you to be physically in the space. But we had to get creative. We had to do a lot of transition, a lot of our programs and workshops online.
I'm Caroline Mahfood. I'm the CEO of the Grace Kennedy.
Yeah, so Stephen, I mean, that helps to kind of create a context of the type of group that we are. And it's good that as a group, we give back, right? But how has Grace Kennedy, as a leading private sector organization, been leading the charge with ensuring that the wider Jamaica population has access to all financial solutions and financial benefits?
Sure, Shaluk. So for some context, when you think about Jamaica and its economic development, and you look at our GDP, on a normal year, remittances would represent somewhere between 16 to 17% of our GDP as a nation. And Grace Kennedy is the largest player in the remittance space in Jamaica and in the English-speaking Caribbean. And that's important. Now, I don't know what these numbers are going to look like, a year for this year or for last year when they're released, because with tourism being less of a factor in our economy, and with remittances doing really well, we may see remittances being even a much larger part of our economy. And the Grace Kennedy Financial Group has really built a business around the remittance sector. And if we look at things objectively, the remittance sector and the customers in that area are really amongst the most vulnerable in our society. When you look at statistics about the level of unbanked and underbanked customers in that segment, they really are Grace Kennedy's customers. We have been working with these customers for 30 plus years. So we understand who they are, we understand what they need, and we understand how to communicate with them. I was watching the earlier panel where Rodolfo said that you had to, change the way in which you communicate things about insurance, and that's a big thing. But when you take a look at what we've built with our remittance business, we built a whole network of locations around the country. Jason will tell you more about how many are there, but there are hundreds of them. And these are pockets where we are able to reach our customers and offer them financial services. So Grace Kennedy has built, in our minds, even before the concept of financial inclusion was coined, the largest financial inclusion network in Jamaica, and we continue to build on it. We have, in our group, figured out easily how we can distribute our remittance products. And just to give you another example of how we have integrated into the Jamaican community, and we can talk about the wider Caribbean as well. Last year, when the government of Jamaica wanted to distribute funds related to COVID-19 relief, they went and asked the recipients how they wanted to receive their funds, and they chose Grace Kennedy. So we saw firsthand the power of the network that we had built and how much the economy and the people in the economy, those who need these inclusive financial services, relied on us. So what we've built is a product called GK1, and I won't steal Jason's thunder, but at a really high level, it's just about offering all of the financial services that our customers need, those who need these inclusive services. We have a channel that we have built to serve them and to offer the products in our financial group with respect to banking, with respect to the payment of bills, the receipt of funds locally and internationally through remittances, and of course, insurance. So I think that's a segue. Yeah. I'll leave it to the rest of the team to tell a little bit more about what exactly we've been doing.
Quite a bit there, Stephen. Thank you. And Jason, you know, Stephen started to talk about GK1, and I believe that this is kind of what you do every day, right? So Jason is very passionate about this. So we'll start off by just showing you a video about GK1, and then we can get Jason to share his perspective.
Hi, my name is Shamar Chambers, and I'm a GK1 sales agent. So far, it has been a tremendous experience. I love the products, my customers love the products because it solves their financial problems. They can come in one shop and get all of their financial solutions. Come with me, let me take you on a GK1 journey. Let's go. So our first stop on the journey is FX Trader Cambio, where you can do all of your foreign exchange transactions. So Easter is coming up, family members are coming down, they can come right here and change the pound. As you can see, we're already in Western Union, Jamaica's favorite. So you can come right here, family members send some money, you can come right here and do your transactions. Let's go. We're not done yet. So right here we have the First Global Money Link. So with First Global, you have a family member overseas that is sending money to your mom who is a senior, and she can't come and join the long line. Guess what? She can get a First Global bank account, and we can do the direct to bank for her. So we can send the money from Western Union straight to the account. If you need a car loan, First Global got you. So you can come here, sign up for your car loan, get your car loan. If you need car insurance, GK Insurance got you. Need some money to pay the premium, then guess what? GK Proxim got you. You want to pay a bill in the meantime? Bill Express got you. Whatever you need, you can get it right here. GK1. The GK1 products, they are so amazing that I can't keep it within the confine of the four walls. I have to go out there and share these wonderful informations with individuals. So for example, I go to the business places, I'll make sure that they're covered with our insurance. I make sure that they have a bank account from FGB so they can make their direct to bank remittance from Western Union. I make sure that all of them have our wonderful products. I go into the churches, I make sure that the pastor is covered. I make sure that the youth ministry is covered, the women ministry is covered with our products, accounts, insurance, loans. A lot of people, they believe that they're not qualified for loans. But when they come and they hear the requirements and the benefits of a GK Proxim, oh my God, they're amazed, and we solve their financial problems. I'm actually at one of the locations right now. One of the sales agents for this location is here. Mr. Dwayne Cousins, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Which location are we at today?
Right now, we're at the State Farm Services right here at Barbados Avenue, New Kingston. We're here from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. All your financial needs in one location.
That's the power of GK1. Visit one today.
I'm sure you can feel the energy, right? And so, and Jason, so as we go into that, right, we want to get behind it now. So what are some of the wins and challenges that you would have encountered along the journey as we've implemented the GK1 initiative?
All right, thank you, Shaluk, and I'm not sure what time it is, forgive me, is it morning or afternoon? Good, greetings. So the GK1 concept, Shaluk, and everyone, was built to provide affordable financial solutions to the underserved segment of the market, right? And we started about 4.5 years ago, and we have come a long way. We have had to make many adjustments because of some challenges that came up along the way. So I'll go through a few of those challenges right now. And I've heard some of them in the previous panel before, similar to what you guys go through in microinsurance, right? So one of the major challenges that we found out, especially in the initial stages of the GK1 rollout, was the trust level. This target audience had close to zero trust in the financial sector. I'll give you a simple example. We sorry. So we signed up a gentleman in one of our rural locations in Jamaica, and he wanted a bank account. Well, he didn't want a bank account before, but one of our sales agents convinced him to get a bank account. He eventually said he'll get the bank account under one condition, that he can come in every month, withdraw every cent from his bank account and count it and give it back to the teller. So we asked him why. He said because he doesn't trust the ATM, he doesn't trust anything online because he can't see his physical cash. We said, okay, no problem. He opened a bank account and he attempted to do it for about 2 to 3 months. And then we worked with him to get him comfortable with the digital services such as a simple ATM or his online banking. And then he understood and started to trust the system a bit more. So this brings me to my next point. That was a big challenge for us, was the low financial literacy rate that we experienced, right? Customers did not understand the basic operations of a financial service or a financial product, something as simple as a bank account, microinsurance. We had a young lady come in and she registered for one of our microinsurance products. She paid the premium for the year and she came back when the policy was up and requested to one of our sales agents that she wanted a refund. She did not have an accident, she did not make a claim, and she wanted a refund on her premium. So clearly, that person did not understand or was not up to speed on how insurance actually works. So we had to change our game plan a little bit, and we eventually moved from selling our products to educating our customers about our products, because we realized that our customers were not comfortable with our services, mainly because they didn't understand them. So they weren't comfortable at all. So it was a roadblock, and in the initial phases of our rollout, that mind block was a big challenge or a hurdle to overcome. So we switched from selling to educating. So our entire sales team went in the mindset of educating our customers, getting them comfortable with the brand. We realized that not a lot of our customers knew that Grace Kennedy was involved in banking, insurance, and Grace Kennedy has great brand equity in the foods division. So those are two of the main challenges that we had, Shaluk, in addition to the application process for a lot of our services. So basically, opening a bank account was very tedious and long. We had the same KYC requirements as if you were going into a regular branch. However, we had to realize that, this target market, there is a reason why they are not going into the branches. They are not comfortable. They are not trusting the process. So we finally received some relaxed KYC requirements, and we saw a big improvement in persons who actually qualify for the products and services, persons who actually want to attempt to come on board, and were much more comfortable because, the KYC requirements that existed previously, a lot of our customers either did not have the patience to sit down and go through those application processes, or they just simply did not qualify. So those are the three main challenges, Shaluk, and I'll talk about some wins because it wasn't all challenges. So one of the major wins for us was that positive response to the relaxed KYC and the simplified application process for our microloans, for our microinsurance products, for our bank accounts, for our credit cards. We saw a big improvement in the interest from the actual target market when those relaxed requirements were put in place. We also leveraged our GK1 brand, or GK brand, which I previously mentioned. A lot of customers were much more comfortable when they found out that Grace Kennedy was behind these financial services. The trust level just immediately skyrocketed. Another win for us was that we are now in 19 locations island-wide, so we expanded our touch points across Jamaica. So we are basically in every parish now, and that has been a huge goal for us, and we have achieved it. So in every parish in Jamaica, we are, doing our part to contribute to the efforts of financial inclusion in this country. So we have come a far way, and we have learned some of the challenges that existed, and we have made the adjustment, and we are getting more inclusion from this target market that is currently being underserved in the industry.
Thank you, Jason. I hear from what you're saying that long before COVID, you were pivoting, right?
Yes, definitely.
So you had to pivot from selling to educating,
yes,
and all of that, and also to keep it simple.
Yes.
Very important. Jordan, the perspective of the insurance company. So GK Insurance would have been one of the first and still one of a few general insurers in the Caribbean that is engaging in inclusive insurance. Tell us a little bit about our journey up to this point in time and some of the products or solutions that you offer.
Well, Shaluk, it has been, I would say, 10, 11 fulfilling years of really penetrating this market. We really have to give credit to many who used to be in our company before who saw this as a dream to really get into this market. In fact, our previous CEO of Grace Kennedy, Mr. Douglas Horain, in a business meeting with some persons from Hollard Insurance, they met and they saw the likeness of the two companies and how the two companies, being that similar, could even have business relations. And in fact, Hollard, who is a major microinsurance player, inclusive insurance player in Africa and Asia, had wealth of years of experience. And so, when we got together as two companies to see how we could bring this type of insurance to the Caribbean, we really benefited a lot from their experience. And when they saw the footprint, the financial footprint that we have across the Caribbean, or big brands like Stephen mentioned, Western Union, and the customer base that we've already had a connection to, it was really ripe for a company like Grace Kennedy to really enter this market. And when we look across the business, not just financial service, but foods, we are very big in terms of our customers, or persons are part of our business, farmers and persons who really can benefit from a lot of these products. So it was just natural that Grace Kennedy, from an insurance space, would also want to create insurance solutions for these different market segments. And I'm very happy to say that just last month, we would have celebrated 10 years of launching our first microinsurance product in Jamaica. And I just remember from the last panel when I heard Mr. Anderson speak about the FSC being 10 years in. Really, we are one of the ones who were at the table kind of pushing with our regulators here of how we can change our regulatory framework to really, as Jason mentioned, simplify our financial products like insurance to be able to reach this market segment. So from that, we've really developed quite a bit of pipeline of products over the years. And Steve mentioned we have this wonderful network that's already of Grace Kennedy. So a lot of our products initially were developed focused on those customer segments and the existing relationships we had, of course, within the different subsidiaries of Grace Kennedy. And so we're able to create products such as Bill Protect, which many persons may have heard the commercials locally in Jamaica. And I've also heard that the product is now offered by other companies internationally of us creating it here, where persons, post an accident, can have their bills continue to be paid for them because they would have to divert funds elsewhere. And we'd have continued to, in the space, develop products such as parametrics insurance products, which our partners such as even the PC Bank would have worked with us on, and would have been able to provide these to farmers so that they can get relief, especially when there's extreme weather events. And we continue the conversations around protecting valuable assets. So we think about, okay, what is one valuable asset that many persons in this market segment would have? And best believe it, one of the most valuable assets a person has is their cell phone, because that helps them to be in contact, to do even transactions now. And so, we created, again, solutions for persons to be able to get their phone replaced. And we know how phones can be very expensive, right? So a person being without a phone for a day is almost like you don't have water. And so, providing that benefit that can get their device up quickly was something else that we did. And we continue to look at various segments. We continue to work with now other entities outside of the Grace Kennedy Group to see what are some of the solutions that we could help them create to reach and to create value-added services for this market segment. And for us, just as Ralph had even mentioned in the panel before, that changing the conversation was important. So we took out the word insurance because insurance has a very bad connotation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And people have bad history with insurance. Mm-hmm. So using words such as protection, such as warranty, it helps person to have a different type of feeling towards the products. And so they were able to be willing to purchase these type of solutions. And also marrying it with various other services that persons were doing. So for example, in the case of Bill Express, a customer will be paying their bills on a regular basis. Why not have an insurance product that is married with the service so that they can benefit from it? And so they're much more happy. So when we do the surveys and we talk to our customers about this benefit that they have because of doing business with Bill Express, they're excited. They love it. And all the surveys that we've done have showed it. And so really, that's one of the things that we have done across our journey, is really developing these solutions that persons are able to benefit from and changing the conversation, making it simple in our approach. And we're able to do that even recently again by us reevaluating another product we had, which is GK Weather Protect.
Mm-hmm. And thanks so much, Jordan. I mean, that's a whole lot, and it kind of fully captures a number of the initiatives that we're doing. And I think another very important point to note is just the benefit that the customers see from the products that we offer in this segment. And I share a story of a client that we have that called me since COVID and said, Mr. Richards, I pay my GK Med premium. And he said, I don't have any work now, but I pay the premium because I believe it's important. I have 2 children and anything can happen to me. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that a lot of times we don't realize the value that the customers place on the products that we offer as well. And so a big part of that segment is Peter. So Peter, the PC Bank has been a partner with GK Insurance for quite some time. And Jordan mentioned the parametric product. So share with us a little bit about how your members have been benefiting from microinsurance.
Okay, all right. All right, good afternoon still morning. But we have been in partnership with GK since 2014. And the PC Bank being, a cooperative per se, our members are our customers. So therefore, it is for us to look for products, to always be reinventing the wheel to see how best we can provide facilities for them that, adds value. And the parametric insurance that we had partnered with GK with would provide for us more or less crop insurance, because a majority of our customers are farmers, and the institution is an agricultural-based institution. So we look for opportunities for our farmers, which are, improving now, but back then it was quite limited. So the challenges our farmers had was to find a way to protect their livelihood, which is agriculture. The parametric insurance that came in, it was for dual purposes. It covered more or less what was being required by our members. Our members didn't have a way to more or less buffer between when operations had fallen down through some weather events to getting back up to full operation. So the parametric insurance product provided that. The twofold function of it, we used it to protect our members so that they would have some sort of cushion in the event of these weather anomalies, as well as to protect the institution, the bank itself, because what we did, we tied the product with a loan product to ensure that both the institution and the member could benefit if there is anything that would happen there. So one of the initiatives we took on with the Banana Board is our B program, which is the Banana Export Expansion Program that was initiated in, I think it was sometime in 2015 thereabout. But what we did with that product, we tied it to the parametric insurance. So therefore, it became a compulsory part of it. So if you are applying for that loan facility, that would be a part of it. And it worked out to be very beneficial to our farmers. I think we have a video, thank you, the video, that can show a testimony of one of our farmers who had benefited from the product and has been a lifelong PC Bank member. And this has encouraged him now to, sing the song about the parametric insurance as well as the benefits that you are able to get through this partnership through the PC Bank. So can we have that video?
A tropical paradise for many, is located in the West Indies just between northern South America and southeast United States. The Caribbean island boasts a tropical climate, with little difference between the summer and winter seasons, and its economy is a productive one, mainly including tourism, telecommunications, mining, and cement industries. The island also has an active agricultural sector, comprising commercial, pastoral, and arable farming that supplies products locally, as well as for international export. Jamaica's vulnerability to natural disasters, however, continues to plague the livelihood of many. Like the rest of the Caribbean, in the period from June to November, Jamaica is usually affected by hurricanes, the tropical cyclones of the Atlantic Ocean. The effects of these extreme cases are especially detrimental to farmers in the island. Gary Watson is a local banana farmer in the parish of St. Mary and has been growing the crop for more than a decade on his family-owned farm.
I have been at this farming exercise for over 12 years, and within that time, actually in the first 6 years, I encountered 4 hurricanes that at least wiped out 80% of the farm. And as a result, I was very frustrated and, wondering if this would make any sense. When you have dry spell like this, the soil opens up a lot, and once you have heavy rainfall, the water goes within the crack, and you tend to have land slippages. As you can see here, there was just a little stream right here, but now it's a big area that has been washed out. And if you look at this section, also you'll see where a huge part has been eroded. If you look down in the gully, you can also see bananas there, because actually the farm was out here.
When a hurricane hits with its heavy rainfall and wind speeds of up to 150 miles per hour, the effects can include major flooding, severe damage to buildings and other infrastructure, and the devastation of crops. As a standard, the people of the island usually protect their family, business, and home by storing non-perishable food, water, and first aid kits, and also by securing their roofs and windows. However, there is another method of protection that is available to the public. Leading insurance provider GK General Insurance provides a livelihood protection policy, or an LPP, that allows persons to insure themselves against extreme rainfall and wind speeds. Purchasing an LPP is a way to ensure that you will get money within days after a big storm hits.
LPP is a parametric-based insurance solution which pays out not on actual loss, but when a trigger is met. So for example, there's a hurricane, wind speed at certain levels, or there's a certain amount of rainfall, it will pay out.
I was introduced to the LPP insurance product at a meeting that was put on by the Highgate PC Bank in 2016. During that meeting, a member from the insurance company came by and told us farmers about the parametric insurance scheme.
Dorian Rowan Campbell is a coffee farmer in Portland who also operates a family-owned business. The heavy rainfalls also threaten her livelihood in providing an internationally sought-after local product.
Well, my dad bought this piece of land when I was about 12 years old, and we used to come here regularly, and we loved it. I did no farming. I ran up and down, I ate wild strawberries. I paid no attention to what my father was doing. He was growing coffee. And it's really important for small farmers because it gives us the ability to decide, I'm prepared to invest this much to protect my farm, and you can decide what amount. And we're now hearing that I had payout in the west and payout in the flood-prone areas of Portland. My main worry is hurricanes and wind. In 2009, the Jamaica Organic Agriculture Movement had a workshop where we looked at facing climate change challenges. And we talked to the World Bank about what could be done and about bringing in a system that was cost effective, that farmers could afford. And then the World Bank did a study, and then they've partnered with ILO and Grace Kennedy, and they've come out with this product, which I'm really very appreciative of.
GK Insurance, in collaboration with Munich Climate Insurance Initiative, CRIFT, and also MicroInsure, came together to create this innovative solution. It has been around for the last 4 to 5 years and has been doing very well, as many persons have seen this innovation as something that they can utilize, especially in times of need. We want to be able to provide an insurance solution that will get them back on their feet in a timely manner. And hence, LPP is able to provide this quick payouts within 14 days of the event.
I was called by the manager at the PC Bank in Highgate to inform me that there was a check there. Well, basically there was a deposit of $100,000 in my account. Now that money came in, very handy, because I was able to fertilize the field. I was able to resuscitate a section of the farm that got damaged, or to replace the plants that got damaged. Today I'm reaping from those plants, and it has been a very nice experience. And as a result of that, I pay into the scheme every 3 to 4 months.
I recommend it all the time, because too often when we have a disaster, we have a flood or we have a hurricane, all the farmers stand up and say, the government is not doing anything. Well, they're our farms, and this gives us an opportunity to decide what we want.
I am very happy for this product from GK, because I believe all farmers should have it, because for me, I'm certain that this product will always be a part of my operations going forward, and I'm very excited for the future. Before, when you have the hurricane season in June to November, I would be very scared. Now I'm very upbeat, and I'm very happy for this.
Local Jamaican farmers stand to benefit a great deal from this relatively new insurance product. However, the livelihood protection policy is not limited to just them. It is also available for all persons island-wide who a storm or simply heavy rainfall and high wind speeds would affect. This can include business owners and even homeowners to facilitate quick repairs or just assisting with getting back on their feet quickly after any event. In this region, tropical weather comprising numerous hurricanes and storms is certain. Jamaicans now have another ideal option to help them take cover.
Excellent. And so it's always wonderful to hear from the beneficiaries of the product, and you know that you have a solution that works. And I'm very happy that the members of the PC Bank is excited about this. Now, when we talk about financial inclusion, Stephen, a big part of the component is distribution, and efficient distribution. Now, wearing your hat as the head of digital transformation for the Grace Kennedy Group, how will the Grace Kennedy digital agenda impact this segment?
Sure. First of all, I've never seen that video, and it's really heartwarming. So I just thought that, congrats to the team. And I mean, we've obviously been following the product and looking at how it's been growing, but hearing from the customers, that's just really powerful. So I'm so excited. From a digital perspective, the concept is really how can we make the experience for the customer an improved one. That's really one of this, and we really want to make it so that people are comfortable doing business with us and it's an easy experience. And we also want to make it as frictionless as possible. So from a digital perspective, we're creating digital channels by which our customers, like the ones you've seen here, can purchase our products, including our insurance products, our microinsurance products, digitally. So that they don't have to spend money to drive to the PC Bank to pay their premiums or to sign up for the policy. And you've already seen from the video that they're already receiving their claims settlement digitally, which makes it wonderful for the customer from a customer experience perspective. It makes it easy from our perspective as an insurer, we want to pay our claims. So we're happy to pay our claims when they're due. And it's just imagine you getting a call saying hey, your money is in your account. You didn't have to call and ask for it. That's a really wonderful experience. So, making sure that we are able to widely distribute these products. We have physical locations all across the country. We have partners with physical locations, but being able to distribute it digitally in a country that has such high mobile cell phone penetration is really an opportunity for us that we're very excited about. And there are lots of other products. Jordan talked about the cell phone insurance program. We've only scratched the surface on that, and I think you'll see some really great things from Grace Kennedy in 2022 with that program. And just the whole concept of making it easier and making it less expensive for people to do business with us. That's what our digital transformation initiative is. And from an insurance perspective, I think the customers are going to benefit greatly from the program.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen. So Jason, from a digital standpoint, so we talk about digital, Stephen spoke about digital financial products, etc., right? How do you see digital financial products expanding the reach for financial inclusion?
Okay, well, Shaluk, we recognize that a lot of our customers have to go through a lot to get to our locations and stand in line. Some live in very remote areas across Jamaica. So digital solutions are very important to ease that burden of going to these physical locations. And basically, we have created a mobile app, which is the digital version of our physical store, where we'll be offering remittances, bill payments, banking, insurance, and microloans. So our customers will have the option of going on their phone through our mobile app to conduct transactions in a more convenient manner. In addition to this, some customers we also recognize and appreciate that they might not have access to the level of technology needed to take advantage of these services. So we are also coming out with a mobile unit that will be equipped with all the digital services, a cashless setup where we can go into these remote communities and have persons sign up. We can give them the assistance of a trained staff member to sign up for these digital services in addition to conducting transactions at this mobile unit.
Wow, so we're going digital.
Definitely.
And so, Jordan, as we think about the insurance side now and microinsurance, what role will digital play in the way forward?
Well, a huge role. Stephen mentioned the fact of being able to get to the customers a lot easier. We know when we have farmers that are in very remote areas and you're really not asking them to leave what they do best just to get protection. They can do it from where they are. It will play a huge role. And so even with our relaunch of our LPP product, which now we've rebranded GK Weather Protect, we benefit a lot from the research that we'd have gotten in partnership with MCII and Munich Re, Microinsure, and also the ILO. And now we've partnered even with some companies that are pushing digital, like a Raincoat, and ultimately that digital footprint will get us now to expand a product that we created as a nice base, but now be able to get a further reach because of the new design. And it's easy accessible for our customers. Just from, we have it's mobile optimized. So just from a smartphone, someone can apply for the product. It's a very simple process. Or they can go to a website or even to a location such as a RADA location in their community or a PC Bank location in their community. So just really making it accessible, we believe will expand the reach of these wonderful products that we have created. And also it will allow persons to make a quicker decision about protection. As mentioned before, Jason will tell you that it's very difficult to communicate sometimes insurance. But when you have the opportunity and you're able to really get that customer to appreciate the benefits of it, you want them to access it right there and then. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not having to think about, okay, by the time they go 5 miles on the road, they have so many other competing demands, which insurance may not then become prioritized. Right. So by having it there at their fingertips, you get to also maximize that time which you are able to communicate the value of that product. So digital will really help us to achieve that.
Oh, cool. So Peter, from the PC Bank perspective, tell us about the digital engagement and how will this benefit your members?
Okay. What happens in the case of the PC Bank, as Jason mentioned, with the account with the member who wanted to go in and pull their money. These are our customers that we have to deal with every day. The strength of the PC Bank is community origin, and we are very strong on our face-to-face interaction with our members because, you know, the video showed you that a manager called the client and told them, hey, you have some money here. This is how we interact. And we are very mindful of the flexibility that the digital, operating in the digital sphere would offer to you. But where we are currently, our strength was face-to-face selling. So therefore, digital is something that was not, you know, on our front burners. We're looking at to build out the engagement to our members because as a smaller organization that deals with farmers, we see the face-to-face interaction being more. But what has happened in COVID now, that particular model has gone through the door and through the window and through everywhere because we are realizing now because of the restrictions, face-to-face engagement is quite difficult. Also, we have realized that COVID has forced our members who didn't want to get into the digital sphere, where persons were comfortable in walking down to their PC Bank and asking, sitting and talking with their manager. You know, we're a community-based organization, so a manager might live down the road, you can go and have a conversation. With all of this being put off now, we're realizing that a lot of our members are now forced to accept the digital platforms as the regular mode of business. And we have invested heavily in getting the bank to that level. We didn't see COVID coming, but we had put plans in place to, you know, be very subtle with how we introduce this digital platform to our members, because our members, they still don't trust, at that point, didn't trust insurance, they didn't trust online banking, you know, so a lot of trust issues. And being an organization that is heavily based on trust, we want to give them what they trust. But COVID has created a new ball game. Persons are now more comfortable with the digital, with operating the digital sphere. We had our AGM last week, and we have members now who weren't so warm to the idea now, hey, when you get in the platform up and running, when are we going to get our online banking? We're very close to that. And what happens now with GK, their platform is seamless, so interactive. So with us going over now to both bring the digital experience internally to our staff and externally to our members, this fits hand in glove now where the transition is going to be smoother. So all the learning takes place here, so we're ready to hit the ground running as it relates to that. But digital is the way to go. We have been getting this feedback from our members, and you know, COVID has perpetuated that. So we are really happy that GK has a product that will fit into our business model right now. Just slot in, we can just start using it tomorrow morning if we want to. That can facilitate us building the brand and growing value for our members.
Thank you, Peter. So, you know, we've been having a very insightful conversation around, you know, inclusive insurance, etc. And so we're kind of pulling it together towards the end now. And so, Stephen, I'll ask you, as we look forward, right, to, let's say, a post-COVID environment, how will Grace Kennedy be furthering its mission around financial inclusion?
Okay, so Grace Kennedy is very focused on financial inclusion. As you heard Jordan telling the stories of 10 plus years ago, it just shows how committed we have been to this initiative. So a few of the things that we've been working on, Shaluk, we've first of all been looking to expand our platform to be able to deliver these services. So we've always been a player in the general insurance space here in Jamaica, and we've continued to expand that footprint. But we've also been expanding through the formation of Canopy, which is a joint venture in which Grace Kennedy is a leading partner in that business. So we can expand our solutions on the life and health side. We were also in the Eastern Caribbean in our general insurance business, and quite recently, earlier this year, we announced the acquisition of Scotia's life insurance business in the Eastern Caribbean. So we've been building out our platform to be able to expand our products and services throughout the region. The next thing we're focused on, Shaluk, is product innovation. So with this broader platform, you can see that our team is very innovative. They're ahead of the curve in terms of some of the things that they're developing. And we have a whole host of products that we've been working on and looking to develop. And we'll start to, on this broadened platform, start to release these products with scale, not just in Jamaica, but throughout the region, with partners like the PC Bank and with other partners, especially through our existing network, because of our leading remittance business in most of the countries in the market. We're also looking to continue this process of simplifying the products, and not just innovating these products, but how do we communicate and simplify the products so that our customers, our potential customers, those who are looking for or need these inclusive services, are excited about being able to understand what is being sold to them and to start requesting it on their own. And that's a big push for us. And one of the ways, just to wrap up, I think we can do this, is to continue to embed these products, these insurance, these microinsurance products, along with the other products and services that we have in the Grace Kennedy Group. We have one of the widest ranges and the broadest suites of financial services products in the region. So we're going to continue to embed these products for our customers so that they can benefit from the value that is derived from some of these products.
Cool. Excellent, excellent. So there is a very deep focus around financial inclusion and around keeping that momentum going. And so, Jordan, the last question to you. From an insurance perspective now, we're talking about microinsurance here. How do you see the future where microinsurance is concerned for GKI and for Jamaica in general?
I see the future has been very optimistic. Elizabeth mentioned in the previous panel or presentation to say that good things come to those who wait. We believe we've been waiting for a very long time, so I feel like she's speaking directly to us at GK when she said that good things will come to us. And I mean, I'm also very grateful that the minister, Mr. Clark, this morning that spoke about the fact that by April, we will definitely have a framework in place that will help to drive insurance products of this nature, inclusive. And so I'm very excited when I hear all these things. And at GK, we have a packed pipeline of insurance solutions for the inclusion market. And so we're just waiting for the framework to be properly developed. We're ready to have these products submitted to the regulator for formal approvals because we believe that there's so much to offer for this segment. And so we're really ready to take on the opportunities that will come in the future for this right in Jamaica here and throughout the Caribbean.
Thank you, Jordan. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure, sharing and having this conversation with you over the past hour or so. We thank each and every one of our panelists here as we engage in this conversation. We believe that financial inclusion, inclusive insurance is important for Jamaica. And as our group CEO always say, if it's good for Jamaica, then it's good for Grace Kennedy. And it's something that we'll continue to invest in and we'll continue to pay attention to because we believe that it will make a difference. So thank you very much, and we wish you all the best for the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Shaluk, Stephen, Jordan, Peter, Jason, thank you so much. So we do have, if you recall, I did say earlier that if you have questions for the gentlemen on the panel, you may raise your hand. If you're in our live studio audience, you may raise your hand and we will acknowledge you if you would like to ask a question. However, I do have some questions from Zoom. First of all, we love this guy's energy. That was, what's his name? Oh gosh, if he's watching, he's going to...
Shamar?
Shamar. We love Shamar's energy. Thank you.
Yes.
I love it too. And then Pranav Prashad. We at the ILO's Impact Insurance Facility have thoroughly enjoyed working with the project leaders MCII, GK Insurance, and CRIF for the LPP plan in Jamaica and St. Lucia. Recording this video and visiting Gary's farm was an experience in itself. My colleague Daniel McGree has interesting anecdotes. Look forward to the next phase to expand these services across the Caribbean. And now for the question. Clap them. That was a mouthful, but we see how important this is. So here comes a question now. Thanks for sharing the portfolio for Jordan and Shalouk specifically. Thanks for sharing the portfolio and potential of GK1. Given the issue that the GK1 salesperson has to deal with multiple products, what are the challenges to ensure that a complex push product as a parametric insurance product remains top of mind so that he can talk about it to the customers and ensure that they purchase it?
Very excellent question. I mean, that's a challenge that we have continuously, worked at overcoming, because especially in that space where there are so many competing products. And so the model that we use with promoters, we really have the promoter be kind of that ambassador that really then gets us directly for a team member now to call that customer right there and then, even when they're in the location, and provide them with the proper information to make that purchase by the time they get to the window. So it's really working together with that promoter in the space, and so they're able now to provide us with that connection to the customer.
I would also add to that as well that one of the big things that we've done with the GK Weather Protect, which is really the parametric product, is to make it heavily digital. And so the ability to reach a wider cross-section of customers, and not just those limited to the space, is there, right? And so that's one of the main things that we've done and upgraded it from the LPP that we had before.
Thank you. And then for PC Bank, question for PC Bank. Bundling loans with voluntary parametric insurance or inclusive insurance products can push up the cost of loans. How do you explain this to the members or potential buyers? Is there a pushback? I'm so interested in this.
Okay, well, first thing to tell you though is the cost of parametric insurance is very, very, very affordable. So it is not significant that will affect the price of the loans. And what we have done, from a banker's perspective, we have also looked into unlending the proceeds for the loans as a part of the lending mechanism, which, when you work it out, it is not as significant as you might think. We have done that from our testimony. This is what has taken place already. So
hold that thought. Let's just make sure that everyone can hear you. Let's just make sure that everyone can hear you. Speak again for me, please. Peter, can you hear him now? Can you hear me now? Well, let's just get him a cordless mic, please. Thank you. Peter was answering the question on bundling loans with voluntary parametric insurance and whether or not there's a pushback. Go ahead, sir.
All right. 0 for 2.
No, I promise this is not on purpose. I like you, Peter, I really do. Go ahead now.
Okay, all right, I'm here now. You can hear me now. True. Good. All right, so what we have to look at. So we have done that. We have taken steps because parametric insurance is quite affordable, so it's not significant. But what you have to look at and what we sell to our members is the benefit of having this product, because the cost of the downtime from when you have this weather catastrophe to destroy your crops, between that time to getting back up to full speed, it's a very costly process. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons and balance between if you would have that funds out of pocket to get yourself back up and running, versus paying a very minimum premium, and the premiums are very, very, very low, and the PC Bank rates are very, 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 very low. So, it works out, and it's not something that is significant to affect the price of the loan, right? And you can walk into our branch. Anyone, I'm doing a little selling here now. You can walk into any one of our branches. One of our strengths is that we're in every nook and cranny in Jamaica.
Don't you just love a marketer? You can tell, right?
So you can come and get information, and digital platform is there from GK, so you can see how cost effective it is and weigh the balance between losing and gaining from this product.
All right, thank you so much, Peter. I have a question in the live audience. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, hear me. Good afternoon. Otis Hamilton from Jamaica Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. I love what I've heard about that product that you're just speaking of. I'm wondering, with your current experience so far, what has been the type of actuarial incident experience that you've seen, and to what extent can you base that to see how reasonable you can maintain those rates? Because I hear it's good, I don't know exactly what it's like, but it's something that I'm sure the rest of Jamaica needs to know about. That will be a benefit to the whole island and our agricultural product, as well as the elephant in the room in respect to predatory larceny. Are we thinking about doing anything about that type of insurance?
Thank you, Otis.
So I'll take the.
Oh, because I was going to say
the second one first, and then Jordan will take the actuarial. But so right now we know that predatory larceny is a great challenge for this segment, right? But you started from an actuarial standpoint, and it becomes extremely difficult for you to determine the best pricing and how you can price this product for it to be affordable as a solution right now. So essentially, as a result, we are focused on the parametric side, which is rain and drought. And it's something that we've not taken off the table, but it's not something that we found the ideal solution to at this point in time.
Yeah. And just adding to also Shaluk's comment on predatory larceny. So when we analyze the data, which I'm glad you mentioned actuarial work, because a lot of that is what we actually do. When we look at the losses incurred by the sector over the last 20, 30 years, 85% are anywhere between heavy rain, lack of rain, drought, or heavy wind speeds, 85%. So therefore, we're really looking at the significant loss makers, if you want to say, for that industry. And our product is priced, usually insurance products are priced on weather-related, it's priced on return period. So usually we expect certain types of events happening over a certain period, and so we price on the long haul. So you won't find premiums for this type of product just going up and down on an annual basis, because we expect there to be payouts, and we've had those. And we've priced those into the product for at least the medium term. So we're looking at 10, 15 years. Now, with climate change, we know that weather patterns are changing. And so even though we've estimated some based on our assessments and looking at the science behind the warming of the waters and so forth, obviously we don't have, just like we didn't have COVID, we don't have everything right. So I'm not here saying that there won't be any premium change at all, but I'm saying we are priced significantly in the future based on what we know on the science.
Thank you very much. I do have another, a comment from Dirk Reinhard from the Munich Re Foundation. We heard him earlier. Amazing, insightful session. Great to watch this live from around the world. I can't believe you're still awake, Dirk. Where are you right now, anyway? And then another question for you, gentlemen. My name is Lance Scott, and I am a UE PhD candidate studying climate risk insurance among rural farmers. Recently, I heard a conversation about expanding insurance products, such as the LPP, to include drought insurance. Is there any current prospects to help protect farmers from climate risks by using a form of drought insurance? I know it's Jordan, right?
Yeah, yes, it is, Jordan. So I mean, the good news is that we've rebranded LPP to include drought. So what we launched GK Weather Protect in in July this year, and we've actually been interacting with farmers across the island, and happy to tell everyone that it now includes drought coverage.
That was easy. Look at that. Thank you very much. And thank you, Lance. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this session. Thank you, gentlemen. We truly learned a lot, and this is all about learning, right? So we'll break for lunch now. And during lunch, or after you have a chance to swallow some delicious food from the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, where we are live, those of you who are joining online, we hope that you have some lunch too, hopefully. During lunch, we will continue our conference with a presentation from Lorenzo Escondieu, Chief of Operations for Jamaica Inter-American Development Bank. So we'll be back right after lunch. I believe Lorenzo will begin speaking at 1:15. Please ensure that you are in. Gentlemen, can you stand up? You're going to get present. So we'll hear from Lorenzo during lunch. And of course, we have to thank, a round of applause, please. Dirk says he's in Germany. Hi, Dirk. And he'll be here till all of the sessions are complete, and that's after midnight in Germany. See how important? Jamaica not large, you know. Translation, Dirk, we're a big deal. Okay, so we'll break for lunch. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please be advised, lunch will be served to you where you are seated, so please be seated in order to be served lunch. Thank you.